Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? My name is BMT. I'm here to actually help along and do a special with a group of people. I'm hoping that they show up. If they don't, then I guess I would have to just watch this. But I'm doing this in good faith. I'm doing this in good faith of doing a show on that of trying to understand women and literally actually have a communal conversation with and understanding women. Listen, I'm no doctor, I'm no scientist, I'm no guru. I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a man. I don't know everything. I don't try to pretend I know everything. Let alone do I try to fake the funk. Right now, we're dealing in a time, in a day and age, where a lot of things have changed and a lot of things have happened that literally have been different for men, but also has been a lot of changes for women. And we see a lot of things that are happening. So that way, we have to understand that um, one of the biggest arguments or debates have been about the rights about women and birth control. And honestly, what does that mean for children? We hear this time and time again, and we have to ask the question. We have to ask the question. Um, what is that going to leave us? What is that going to leave us as a people? Now, I would honestly want to say, I would honestly want to say that when it comes toward the talking points, when it comes to the talking points of supporting, you know, supporting or actually being able to stand. Um, I think that we have a lot things to talk about. I've lost my child. Uh, I lost my child to a woman who got an abortion. It did hurt a lot, and I felt very helpless and in a lot of pain. And to this day, I wonder what goes on through her mind um, about the talking point of why and will men ever have a equal footing ground on dealing with it. So I want to drop it down. This will be a woman's only panel for the most part. For the most part, I'm waiting to Sheila get up, but I will host it for the time being. Um, and just have conversation, a logical dialogue about this. Like I said, there's a lot. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this because we do know a lot of men and a lot of men have been hurt, but also a lot of women have a lot to say. This will probably I would probably say will be an ongoing war um, for the rights of the womb, in which men will say one thing and then we have to find out a different thing. Um, we're joined here with special guest Koja. I'm not sure if she saw the email, but definitely Koja. I'm glad you come. Women, you are definitely allowed on the panel. This will be y'all time to discuss. Uh, no worry, this evil will not last forever, even if it means women will drag us all down with them. But it will not last forever. Thank you, David. Thank you. That was very nice. We're also joined here by Back to the Basics. We're joined here by Koja, two beautiful women. I want to thank y'all for at least coming. And I definitely wanted to have this respectful conversation with y'all. Like I said, no. David, I'm just too afraid of everywhere. So because we're getting it already. Miss Taylor Hood, she's also here.
Hold on.
We're getting it already. Miss Taylor, that's fine. I got you. How y'all doing? How y'all doing, ladies?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Doing good. Thank you for asking.
I'm doing wonderful.
How y'all doing? I think first of all, I want to thank y'all for coming. This was brought to me by my buddy, one of my road dogs, a co-host on the Saturday shows, trailer about women conceptive rights and contraceptives and birth control and child rearing and femininity. I think this is a pretty serious thing because just last year, y'all were the talk of for half a year about y'all womb and about what's going to happen. It's already been put out there by Joe Biden. There's going to be some changes going on for women and their about birth control, abortions, and everything. And so we know that there's going to be a flux, and we also understand that children aren't being born like that, like they used to be anymore. There's a lot of stuff going on. We also hear that women are saying that they're not able to exercise their femininity, be full mothers. Some women would like to have a family, but they don't see the marriage. And as well as some women saying, hey, that I feel like I was trapped or forced into this by society or by a man. And you know what? I'm going to be very vindictive. I know this is not the popular conversation, and we will keep it respectful as it should be. But first of all, I want to thank you, women. So the first question is, do you as women?
Hold on, before you get started.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say one thing. Don't gang up on me with my wife, ladies.
I can't make no promises, but I try not to.
I know I've pissed off every single one of you on one panel or another.
Nah, I actually haven't met you. So.
But you know what? This is actually, we would not have gotten this conversation if not been for Trailer. Like this, he's literally the foundation of why this conversation is happening. So shout out to Trailer for this one. And we agreed that we wanted it to be the women that actually, but everybody has a say on what y'all think or do. But this is now y'all time, to actually have a conversation. I'm holding out until Sheila gets here. But I want to ask and start out with Miss Trailer. Do you feel that, and the question is going to go around, do you feel that women have been able to properly exercise their femininity in the past, 10 years as of late?
Yeah, I feel very confident that women have had the time and to progress and express their femininity. I feel that women have become stronger and stronger throughout the years. I think the last 10 years has been our strongest moments. I feel like we have been more empowered than ever, thanks to the generations before us.
Okay. And also we're joined here by one of the co-hosts of BMT, Classic Ruby. Ruby, that was my fault. Yes. Thank you for chastising me in the back chat. I did not say it.
No, you did not. Yeah. And then you mentioned you were waiting for Sheila, not even for me. Like I ain't nothing. It's all right though. It's cool. I don't got feelings. It's fine. We're good.
I'll cash app you. I'll cash app you.
It's all right. Go ahead.
I love Ruby. Honestly, honestly, actually, Ruby was the first woman I reached out to talk about this because I knew she was very well balanced in having this conversation. We've had many talks, good, bad, disagreements, tears, and all on a lot of things. So I don't know nobody more qualified, especially um, and definitely to talk about this. Um, but let me get this over to you, Ruby. Do you feel that women in the past 10 years have been able to properly exercise their femininity, or it just hasn't been something that has properly been able to be demonstrated?
Um, I mean, I guess to some extent, I'm gonna say you always have an option or a choice to be feminine or not feminine, to hold on to your femininity or not. But I will add, to be fair, that being said, like there are some deep attitudes that I encounter on YouTube. To be fair, I don't really encounter them in real life. But if I was surrounded, if I was constantly around some of these attitudes and some of this like viciousness that, just isn't everybody from the time you say hello, femininity is a vulnerability. It's, you're putting yourself into a very vulnerable place. And so when you're kind of on attack from everyone everywhere, you shut down the weaker sides, the more vulnerable sides of you. So that way you're constantly on the defense. And so I do think that there are definitely women who are born and raised in families and communities where they're constantly on the defense. They're constantly under attack. They never feel like they can just breathe and be vulnerable and be safe. And the less safety a woman has, the less you're going to see her femininity. Whereas for men, it works the opposite way. The less safe that they feel, the more masculine that they're going to be. And that's a good thing, right? Because you want, when things are dangerous, for, masculinity to, charge up, because that's the thing that's going to defend and protect you. Well, if you're a woman, and especially if you were raised without a father, without male role models, so in essence, the only people who are defending your home are you and mama and your sisters and whatnot, well, then your masculinity is going to turn on too when you're unsafe. So I do think that there is an option of choice there. I do think you do have the option to turn it off. You do have the option to turn it back on. And I think maybe sometimes women are choosing to keep it off too much and they're not fighting to try to get it back at all. But I do think that there's a fair argument to say that, there's a reason for it. There really is.
Koja?
I'm a little bit older. I don't know whatever talk about femininity or whatever. I just know as a person born in the 70s, raised in the 80s, without a father. Things that we were taught, and I get it a lot from white people, but they do it to us. Things like looking straight forward, speaking clearly, sitting up straight, looking the person in their eyes have been viewed as masculine. If I'm talking to a man, I don't have to play a demure role depending on the context of what we're talking about. And sometimes in society, even with all of the way that we've come through in work situations, etc., dealing with white people, if you do those things, if you sit up straight, speak clearly in a strong voice, it's viewed as masculine, and it's just being direct. So I shouldn't have to be like, I hate anime because the to be viewed as feminine. And depending on the situation, what I'm in, it really shouldn't matter sometimes. It shouldn't matter in some things how I'm moving, unless you're my man or I'm engaging in you with you that way. If I'm going to the store to buy a wrench, or if whatever the thing is, some things masculine and feminine shouldn't even come into. And I'm definitely, if I'm in a conversation with somebody, should not be shushed or have to be quiet without somebody saying, oh, she acting masculine, to shut me up, or to, I think sometimes it's used as a tool to silence women. And they say the best, easiest way for a man to shut a woman down is to say she's challenging his masculinity. So I don't get to talk about feminine or masculine or whatever on that. I don't even know what they mean to me. Sometimes it's used as a tool to shut a woman up. But the things that they say are masculine, like if men, whoever a male are engaging in a conversation, and I hold my ground, that's not me being masculine. That's me talking about the subject. Now, if you my man and me fixing you a plate or wearing lingerie or something around the house, that's different. I'm supposed to be feminine in that aspect. But if I'm engaging in a way with this man, I don't have to be feminine. In some situations, my femininity or my gender shouldn't even really come into the picture. And so I'm not sure.
No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. I want to just get a feel of the room for the women. Back to the basics. In 10 years, do you feel that you and women of your peers have been properly able to express and exercise your femininity?
To a certain extent, I definitely would agree with what Classic Ruby said, because it just seems that I don't know, it just seems that femininity, it's just difficult, particularly if you're, depending upon your occupation. I'm in a male dominant occupation. So, I mean, there's times where just me personally, my femininity takes a hit like every single day. Um, and but I mean, I enjoy my work as far as what I do. Sometimes the environment, they can get a little rough, but I mean, sometimes I would say femininity takes a hit. It's almost like, here's what I mean. It's almost like I have to do twice as much just to get the same recognition, if that means anything. It's almost like I almost have to, particularly being in a male dominant profession, I almost have to be like one of the guys in order for me to just, be able to hang in there. So, but I would say, but at the same time, just like Classic Ruby said, it should be something that should be turned on and turned off. I shouldn't be like, for example, dating someone and then, I can't turn that switch, to just to change over. I would say it is difficult, because the economy is not like it was back, way back in the day in the 40s and 50s, where the man could be the sole provider and then the woman be in the home. So, I mean, economics has changed a long ways from back then. Um, so I would have to say the last 10 years, I mean, I would say at a certain extent, femininity isn't even celebrated anymore, particularly whenever, I don't know. It just seems like some opinions can be very harsh. Um, my mother is a very feminine woman, so I mean that's what I was exposed to. My father was a very masculine man, so that's the environment that I came out of. But my mother, just because she's very feminine, I never viewed her as weak. So I guess when it comes to femininity, it all depends upon who is defining it, uh, and what that person's perspective is.
That was really good. I asked about that because we know that we're dealing in a time where, as to the ageism of feminism, and I remember I had a very well balanced discussion with Classic Ruby, as well as with Back to the Basics, and also with Miss Trailerhood about feminism. Um, And in looking at that, one of the biggest, talking points was on contraceptives and the rights over the womb. And also that, hey, that women say that we're taking back our power. We're taking back our power. I literally I looked at a few videos. I thought I did a pretty good job in trying to understand all that, the psychology, when they were saying that they were taking back their power. Uh, Class of Ruby, could you help me understand? And maybe I would like to know from you and the rest of the women, what was it meant when, women now they're taking back their power, or they're taking some type of power?
Do you mean in relation to contraception and children? Or okay, because I can't explain feminism because I disagree with third wave feminism. So we all know I do. I just watch videos on my channel anyway. But in regards to contraception and having babies and whatnot, and you really got to think about this in a greater context, which a lot of people either don't or they don't understand the context. So prior to Roe v. Wade, it's not that abortions weren't happening or just were banned in America. It's not the case. Therapeutic abortions did exist. And basically, what would happen is if you were a WASP, right? If you were middle class, white, and above, and a Catholic, you could either just go to your doctor, of course, or you could go to your local chaplain at, say, your college or university and say, hey, I got in trouble. That chaplain would call a doctor, send you to the doctor, and you would have no more baby. And then of course, if for some reason you were ever turned down or whatever, you had the money to be flown out to places like Switzerland or whatever the case is. So when we're talking about abortion and abortion rights and whatnot, we're really only talking about, the Black population and the poor population, people who did not have access to something that already existed. And so they were doing things like, sticking like rusted hangers, whatever. You were going to someone who says that they know how to take care of this problem for you and with you. And then, 5,000 women a year were dying. People were having irreversible complications, including never being able to get pregnant again, losing limbs and whatnot because of sepsis. And it was a really grim situation. But the thing is, if you as a woman got pregnant, and someone got you in trouble, or let's say you had your fourth or fifth or God knows how many kids, and then the man dies suddenly, or he leaves, or anything could happen. Goes to prison now for life because he got scooped up in one of those fake raid things. Well, now you've got 5 children and you do not have a way to take care of them, or 3 children, you don't know how to take care of them. 1 kid, but you know what? Your whole family's poor. How are you going to feed it? And there was no answer to that except for you to really risk your life, literally risk your life, to try to get something that was handed out freely to the WASPs and the upper middle class, and the white Catholics, something that was entirely barred from you. But you knew that all those girls were doing the same things you were, only they were being handed a second chance easily, like this. And so ultimately what it came down to is the freedom of choice of what's happening inside of your body. You having access to a medical procedure that they were already doing, that you didn't have to be one of these qualifying groups, so that way a doctor would check you off and get it done for you. You didn't have to be rich. You didn't have to fly to Switzerland. You could just say, hey, listen, I'm not in the position to have this kid. Fine, I was stupid. I shouldn't have slept with that guy and whatever. But if I have this kid, all of us are going to fall into poverty, not being able to eat. I'm not going to be able to take care of this kid properly. Don't have a father for him. So, don't make me do this, or I'm going to lose my job, which was a big thing that was happening, for the record. Once you were pregnant, right, you get to 2-3 months pregnant, you get fired, right? Because they know that they're going to lose you anyway because you're about to have a baby, right? So they'd fire you. And then all of you would be on the street. It's not a good time for you right now. So basically what it was saying is a woman's right of what's happening inside of her body was her right. She had choices. And that was ultimately, that's what they're talking about, is her having that ultimate choice, her being able to make that ultimate decision. And a bunch of people over there in a corner who don't know her life, and definitely aren't going to help her should she have this kid, don't have a right over what happens inside of her body. That's basically what they're saying.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Oh, to be honest, I don't even believe these are Black people problems. We just caught up in the hype. There is something that's happening in this country. It is a decrease in the number of white babies being born. That is alarming to these white people, because people are choosing to have less babies, more specifically white people. They've never created anything too much for Black people. We just get caught on the outskirts of it.
Why are you feeling? Hold on, wait. Just let me ask you a question. Why are y'all? Why are we pinpointing it towards a racial thing?
I'm finna say right now, in 2040 to 2050, it is projected that white people will be a minority in this country. The birth rate has significantly decreased among white people having babies. All of these options, and you have to ask, a lot of these options that were available, people didn't really care who had the babies, as long as they had the numbers. And so with the advent of birth control, people and women have been able to take their control of their futures in their hand. A lot of women can be controlled through the number of children that they have. The more kids you have, the more vulnerable you are, the more likely you are to stay in that domestic violence situation. The more likely, the less money you'll work for to feed those kids if you're left there. So a lot of this stuff is, how do we get these birth rates up? And that is why you really see a big push about abortion, because it is really about the numbers of them. Now, whatever white women are choosing not to have children is, I don't know, but I'm going to say there's some things on the white side that those women are not liking about white patriarchy and things. But this here was never our issue. But if we sit here and do not look at the birth rates in this country, this significantly declining white birth rates, and not ask why they're so on it, because they need babies by any means necessary. And even the abortion rate has gone down, but even the birth control, making birth control available, because up until, I want to say, the 90s, birth control wasn't even available to people on insurance. And they seek to take that portion out of legislation that requires that healthcare providers provide birth control. So that's a couple of the things that decreased birth rates. I know for myself, after I graduated from high school, in order to get the Norplant, my mom was a pity social worker, didn't make much money, but I didn't make enough money to qualify to pay for the Norplant. And I think the Norplant was almost around $300 back in 1992. And somewhere up in the 90s, they started making birth control. But either you had to be really, really poor to be able to go to the health department to qualify. And if you had insurance, even if you had health insurance at one point, health insurance did not cover contraceptive, which is now covered, which again adds into that. And so when they're talking about abortion, it's only one part of the whole that they're going to address, because the second thing behind that will be the coverage of contraceptives on healthcare.
Now here's the thing about it, and I agree with T Black. We really need to stop adding race to every subject. I really do agree with you, T Black. It seems to blow my mind that race is always thrown into something that does have nothing purely to do with race. It's literally just talking about women. That to me is kind of weak. I'm just being honest.
If that's not the case, then why are they stacking the Supreme Courts with certain type of justices? And we would say race shouldn't have anything to do with.
Can I answer to that? I can answer that actually.
Go ahead.
See, and the problem is this: you can actually watch. There's a documentary on Netflix that can kind of get you caught up. It's called Reversing Roe. They've been doing this constantly since the implementation of Roe v. Wade. Constantly. This is not a new thing. It's not a new battle. It's not since the birth rate went down. It's since Roe v. Wade was first imposed. So, for example, when Governor Ronald Reagan first said in California, right? Yeah, you know what? Right to choose. Good. Yeah, he was entirely pro-choice. In fact, all the Republicans at the time were pro-choice, right? Because the government should have nothing to do with it. 2/3 of Republicans thought that it should be a matter between a woman and her doctor. But what happened? 1980 came, and Ronald Reagan wanted to get elected as president. And hey, there's these evangelical people. They're a huge base that currently are not politically affiliated anywhere. And we can get them by what? Going anti-abortion. And so all of a sudden, boom, Reagan gets elected, and what happens? They start stacking the Supreme Court, trying to reverse Roe v. Wade, and if not reversing Roe v. Wade, then trying to implement policies that basically are outlawing Roe v. Wade without technically overturning it. And so they've been doing this constantly since 1970, constantly. It's not a new thing. It's just that it's a lot of people are only recently becoming aware of it, and they think it's a new thing. They think like, abortion rights have been pretty stable from 1970, and then in the late 1990s, boom. No, this has been a constant, ongoing battle.
The only thing about it, and I want to put this out before I give it over to Ms. Trailhead. The reason why I say that is because we can probably say we're trying to make it seem like it's only a white people problem, but I'm seeing a lot of Black children being born with mental defects or a lot of issues or disabilities and a lot of stuff. So we can try to pretend that literally it's just one race, but I'm seeing I go to CPS, and no offense, Black people, we don't adopt our kids. We don't adopt Black children. White people do.
My mom adopted 3.
Hold on.
My mom adopted 3.
Okay, you know what? Guess what? As much as we talk about slavery, I see more white people taking in our children and putting them in a good education than I see Black people. But we got all the
sister adopted 3.
Okay, that's congratulations. That's your mama. And I'm talking about what I see more people doing. We got more smoke for a gay couple adopting a Black child, but guess what? That Black child's not in the system. They're in a home.
I can sit here and name 10 people off the bat that adopted Black people that adopted Black children.
But I'm saying this.
And I'm from a country town.
I'm saying this. I don't care for racial talking points today. I would like to know about, and everybody in the chat does not care to talk about Black, white, Asian, anything. We would like to know the men are actually here to actually listen to the women, to hear y'all vices and y'all gripes and y'all stuff. I don't even want to I want to hear from y'all women to talk about what's going on. How are y'all feeling about this? You know, when you go inside that courthouse, literally, I mean, honestly, y'all are fighting for y'all contraceptive rights. And I've seen all races of women up in there either fighting against it or for it. They're not using racial talking points. They're using either science or moral high ground talking points. So y'all gonna have to find a way to do this without race. If y'all can't do it without race, I don't want to tell y'all. But I want to hear, and as well as the other men want to hear about, because I'm seeing a lot of men, Black, white, everybody down there, we don't care about race right now. We want to know what's going on with our women, because y'all are making the biggest noise right now about y'all rights of y'all womb. So we want to know.
Can I add one more thing?
You know,
if I can just add one more thing really quickly, which is this, and here's the thing: what people need to realize in general, a lot of the issues that women have they're poor people issues. They're not just Black issues, right? We tend to focus on them as Black issues because we're Black people, so we care what happens to us. But to be clear, and that's why I said it when I ran down the actual facts, right, is that rich people, right, and WASPs, right, the upper middle class Anglo-Saxons, they didn't have an issue getting abortions legally through doctors before 1970, before Roe v. Wade. Who did it affect? It affected the poor. And whenever something affects the poor, it disproportionately affects the Black community because we have a disproportionate number of Black people that are poor or below the poverty line. So I think that when we try to say something like this is not a Black issue and just dismiss it, then we're dismissing the thousands of women that have spoken out publicly. And I don't mean like on YouTube or whatever. I mean like when these congressional hearings are called and whatnot, senators and whatnot that have all been speaking about this issue. So it is absolutely something that affects Black women. It affects white women. It affects every woman in America. It affects every woman, well, especially in America, because really this is where the biggest issues happening is in America, right? So I think that it might be useful if, like, I mean, I understand where sometimes a point's going to come up that it's going to be relevant, but it's not like super relevant for us to say, well, you know, white people are just doing this just because this, and this, because regardless of why they're doing something, it still affects us disproportionately, I think.
My overall point was really, it's a patriarchal thing. It's about the patriarchy, and it's some stuff going on within the patriarchy. That's what it was. I'm saying we're part of it, but it's a patriarchal thing. There's a thing about a change in society, not just a change in society of color. That's not the only thing that's changing in society. The changing roles of women in the country. And one of the tools that have always been used to control women and keep us in our place and make us more subservient and submissive is through kids. If we don't have kids, we're less controllable. And it is definitely a thing of patriarchy. White and Black, all of the shades in between. And that was really the point I was trying to make, is that it's patriarchy. And when I always say that, I always just jokingly say that this ain't our issue, because in the grand scheme of things, our 13% isn't what's driving this. What this really is driving this is the decrease in birth rates in a society that's growing increasingly, changing in color, but also the roles of women are growing increasingly changing, and that threatens patriarchy.
So let me
as far as feminism, I really don't know what feminism is and what it is. Sometimes we fit the role. They say this or that. I really haven't done that much studying into it, but patriarchy definitely is playing a role in this, because they, I just point out one inconsistency. There's a thing called a G-shot. Any of you all have ever heard of the G-shot?
Nope, I have not.
The G-shot is a piece of fibrinogen that they place in the woman. What we get the orgasm from is skipping my mind. G-spot. So you can have intense orgasms, and it works for what would be considered female erectile dysfunction. I know we don't have a erectile dysfunction, but to address that, it costs about $1,200 a shot, and I think it's good for 3 to 4 months. Guess what's not available? And women can't get that, but insurance will cover a certain amount of pills, and I think Medicaid and Medicare Viagra for men. So there is not even equality under that for women. I'm like, you know, a lot of those men sticking their nose in women's business about birth control options and abortion, but we're not over here sticking our nose in their business when it comes to how much insurance covers the little blue pill or the yellow pill, and that is covered under Medicaid. And there's no equivalent for women. So there's a lot of patriarchy and a lot of other things that's involved in this.
So I want to know, Ms. Trailer, and I didn't even get it back to Ms. Trailer. You've been hearing everything going on. What's your thoughts on what you've been hearing? And I'm about to just turn it over to Ms. Trailerhood between Ms. Trailerhood to ask the questions on a lot of stuff. What's your thoughts on how you're feeling about all this? You're hearing about the poverty, you're hearing about the disenfranchisement of women and the patriarchy. What's your thoughts on everything going on?
I agree in a way. This is to me, it's a whole world issue. I don't think it's, huh?
Oh, no, you're not.
I'm not muted. Sorry, husband's trying to tell me how to do my job here.
Go ahead, Miss. Back off, trailer. Back off.
I feel you. Go ahead.
You'll have to bear with me. This is my first time doing this. So, but anyways, I feel like this is a whole world issue. This isn't black, white, brown. I don't even think that this is poor and rich. I think this is everywhere. We have 2 kids. And I will say that I have dealt with the plus and minuses of walking around as a pregnant woman. The most recently with our daughter, I was pregnant and working, and there's it's like the world has changed completely and turned. We used to, as women, before the major first feminist movement wave, had so much more control than what people today give us credit for. I mean, you think about it, we got to stay home and take care of the house and the kids, and we ran the money, we ran everything. And the guy worked and came home and did what he needed to do at home. But there's a stigmatism that has come these days with being pregnant, and I think that that's part of the problem. Yes, abortion is an issue. Yes, contraception is an issue, but pregnancy is an issue too. And I think that's where it goes across the board. No matter what color your skin is, no matter what your median income is, this is a major issue, because you have people, while I was pregnant, they were coming to me that I shouldn't work, that, aren't I worried about risking my safety and my baby's safety by working? There was, well, now that this is your second, are you going to become a baby factory? Ha, ha, ha. Well, isn't that me and my husband's decision, not yours? So there's a stigmatism now. I even had a few college kids that I work with who came to me and told me that they asked me if I felt any guilt for having children today because of the way the world is. And I looked at them and said, how do you know that my child isn't going to be one of the ones that changes the world, that makes the world a better place? Everything's kind of chaotic right now, let's face it. But, I think that this is not any one grouping issue. You can't group this into one group. This is definitely an everybody issue when it comes to pregnancy, contraception, and abortion alike. I think it goes across the board.
I agree with you. I mean, it is an everybody issue, right? But then this issue is affecting everybody differently, but it's affecting everybody. So in general, women, right? Even women who are currently protesting, right? And are pro life, but had a secret shameful abortion when they were 17 and first year of college. Because there's a lot of lying. It's like 1 out of 3 to 1 out of 4 women will have an abortion in their lifetime. It's a quarter of women. So that means every woman probably either knows someone close to them or themselves has gone through this. So, I mean, it definitely affects everyone. But I will say that the way that we see a lot of things affecting different groups, it drastically differs. So, for example, before Roe v. Wade, right, when they were doing therapeutic abortions, so that is to say, a woman who's, upper middle class and, she goes to the doctor, she comes from a good family, and she talks about she doesn't know what she's going to do. She's just, so embarrassed that now she's going to be an unwed mother. And then he'd write down, mother might kill herself. This is putting her life at risk. So therefore she qualifies for an abortion. And there you go. The upper middle class woman, she'll be able to get an abortion. Whereas in the poor women, and again, disproportionately Black women, they might offer them an abortion, but then add to it, only if you agree to have your tubes tied, only if you agree to be sterilized. So we'll give you this, but you have to agree to be sterilized. And so that was happening before the 1970s as well. So, I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, we can't only look at one group when we're discussing something this big that affects all women, because there's going to be so many different ways that it has affected women in general across America. And I think all of those ways are important to address, because if Roe v. Wade ever gets repealed, then we're going to be going back to what was happening pre 1970. The exact same rules are generally going to apply. You know, we're still going to have back alley abortions with rusty coat hangers and fraudulent doctors who don't know anything about the women's reproductive system, seriously damaging or killing women, giving them illegal abortions, and so on and so forth. And we're still going to have privileged women flying out to Switzerland to be able to get an abortion anyway, and it not impacting their lives. So, you know, I do think, and I don't think people realize just how close society is always on the brink to reversing Roe v. Wade. But more importantly, I don't think people realize some of the things that happen and how it is making the unwed mother issue worse. So, for example, when you're fighting to defund Planned Parenthood, you are not fighting to defund abortion, because no federal dollars have ever gone towards funding abortion, ever. So when you fight to defund Planned Parenthood, you are actually fighting to defund birth control. You are fighting to defund any and all pregnancy-related services for a woman to be able to take care of and deliver a healthy baby, adoption services, all of the other services that Planned Parenthood does, because abortion is a very small piece of that pie. That's what you're fighting to defund when you fight to defund Planned Parenthood. When you remove Planned Parenthood, when you shut them down, that's what you're really shutting down, because again, abortion is only a small piece of that pie. And you're not shutting down abortion by shutting down Planned Parenthood, because there's many other kinds of clinics and in hospitals where they conduct abortions, right? So Planned Parenthood it's offering so many services to the community to try to educate people, trying to help them protect themselves, contraception issues, and trying to help them deliver to term healthy babies, trying to place those babies in great adoptions. And we're fighting to shut that down. So it's like a double-edged sword, and people don't realize what they're really fighting for, because they get caught up in all the political hype and forget about the people that it's affecting.
What's your thoughts on that? Back to the basics. I know it's been a lot that's been unloaded.
Yeah.
But I definitely want you guys, if you're a woman, if you're a woman, this is y'all time to talk. This is a very neutral conversation. The women are very copacetic. They are very in tune to wanting to talk about this. I invite all women, if you're available. I am requesting, please. I get it. We understand that I'm not trying to beat on the racehorse, but I definitely want to understand what's going on with women. Like I said, I want to know, because one day my daughters may come back and listen to this, or young girls are going to come back and listen to this when I share this video, and they're going to be like, whoa, like, I know how she feels. I wanted to go be a psychologist, or I want to go into the military, or, you know, I'm a mother and, you know, I want to have another kid, but I'm not sure if I can afford it. So I might have to go take that trip. So I want y'all women to understand, this is y'all time to have the conversation. Fellas, listen, I will do y'all conversation. I promise you, I will power through y'all conversation. That will probably be the David and J.I. hour. Will God help us for that one. But we'll say that for another day. Go ahead, back to the basics. This is all you.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Classic Ruby for filling me in on more of the details of what happened before Roe versus Wade. I was tracking part of that, but not completely all of it, as far as the other issue, the other thing that you talked about, WASP and other things. I'm an equal opportunist. I mean, abortion would not be my choice, but I understand that not everybody has my opinions. I mean, women are gonna choose birth control, and there's various forms of birth control now. Um, my issue with abortion is where that it may be used as like birth control. You know,
Yes.
you now that's where I have my issue with abortion. It wouldn't be a choice that I would make, but I think with all of the different birth controls, I mean, we got what is it, Nexplanon, we got the with the IUDs and the thing and the things that are good for like a good 5 or 10 years. We got the depot shot, we got the pill, we got the patch, we got so many different forms of birth control. It's just my concern is okay, at what extent is abortion use as birth control. And that's where my concern comes in when it comes to abortion. But at the end of the day, as far as having the botched abortions prior to 1970, no, that's unacceptable. We can't be going back to that. Um, and that's what I have for now on that issue. I mean, I'm pro-life. But at the end of the day, I know everybody has their own difference of opinion, and everybody is going to make their own choice. So,
Absolutely. I completely agree. The major issue is abortion as birth control. And I think that's where we as women are failing. Obviously, adoption would be wonderful because, there are plenty of people out there who cannot have children. I wasn't even supposed to be able to have children, but by some miracle was able to, even though doctors said it was never going to happen. But there are families out there that would love to have children that can't. And so adoption is definitely an option. However, there again is a whole nother issue and problem because it's not readily available as it should be. But I agree. Abortion has become a major form of birth control, and at this point, it's a where does it end issue. Where do we stop it? Where do we tell a woman, okay, you have had this many abortions, enough's enough?
Okay, so I, first of all, do not think that in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to say well over 90% of the population, that abortion is seen or used as a birth control method. So when you're talking about the 600,000 on average abortions that happen yearly in the United States, out of tens of millions, how many people are in the United States right now? 100 something million. So I mean, it's a very small proportion of the female population, first of all, that are having abortions yearly, first of all. But second of all, when we talk about abortion, and like the 90% that happen in the first trimester, right? There's a variety of reasons why it is that people become pregnant to begin with. And not all of those reasons are, well, I'm just sexually irresponsible, banging guys in clubs and stuff. And, oh, well, got pregnant, I guess I'll just go abort it. I think that people have a huge misconception about how women see abortion, first of all. I mean, the ones who choose to have them, and the psychological impacts that tend to happen thereafter. So, like, I'll give you an example, right? In the case of my sister, she's my baby sister. She's 10 years younger than me. And a few years ago, she ended up pregnant. And she was not in a good way in life. She was doing drugs and drinking. She found out about almost 2 months in that she was pregnant because she actually had a period while she was pregnant, like a full one. She didn't realize. And at the time, she had broken up with one boyfriend and she had started with a new boyfriend, wasn't sure which one of those two guys was the father. She was addicted to drugs. She was not in a good place to be having a child, and she was young and irresponsible and stupid. And so while it was very difficult on her, she made the decision to have the abortion, and it really messed with her head. She ended up going to therapy. She started working on herself, worked on getting off the drugs and alcohol and blah, blah, blah. And the next time she got pregnant, which is recently, 6 months ago, she said, okay, I'm having a baby because you know what? I'm now older.
I'm wiser. I've cleaned up my act. The baby's not going to be at risk for any type of malformities or whatever because I'm on drugs and alcohol and medications and blah, blah, blah. And cool. And I'm going to change my whole life so that way I can take care of this baby. So, I do think that the majority of women are not looking at abortion as a birth control method. They're not, out there just like being wild and carefree constantly and just saying, I don't care. Worst case scenario, I'll just have an abortion. There's Plan B, first of all, but Plan B is not 100% effective. Condoms break. Birth control fails. People don't get correct information. Like, for example, if you're on antibiotics, it makes birth control not work. There's a lot of different things that happen where people end up in a position where they're pregnant. And to be honest, and I'm just saying this, I'll be honest with you. When I look at the stats that we currently have regarding child abuse and child endangerment, child murder inside of the country in general, child neglect, when I look at those statistics on a yearly basis, when I look at how many children are being terribly affected by parents who honestly should never have had them, were not ready to have them, but they had this training in their head that anything but having the kid is murder, so I gotta have this kid, but then you hate it and you treat it terribly, or you know what, you're messed up on drugs or alcohol or other issues, whatever it is. And so as a result, you are not in a position to take care of a baby. You're not in a position to be carrying a baby inside of your body for any extended period of time because, you're addicted to something or another, or, you have really risky behavior, right? That's millions of children, millions of 7.8 million children yearly. That's how many reports come out about child abuse, 7.8 million. So if we were to outlaw abortion, right now, you think about all of the different types of people who are not ready to have children and never should have to begin with, and we add to that pile. How many of those children do you think are going to be in an adequate position, especially as, which was mentioned, it is true that not all babies that are born just get adopted, especially when you're talking about non-white children in a predominantly white country. Weirdly enough, a lot of people who don't mind actually prefer to adopt interracially from out of the country. And so you do see children who are born and raised in foster systems. It does happen. So, I'm going to say that, to put on this idea that it's like birth control to women, that's just faulty reasoning. And I think it's some reasoning that men came up with because, I don't know, some woman was too flippant when she addressed it to him one time.
I agree. I think it should be nobody's business how many abortions people have, because a lot of times people are making assumptions, because how would you actually really know how many abortions somebody had? That's not information people go out and share. But regardless, my stance on abortion stops with me. I have no right to interfere or tell people how many they are not limited to. I worked in the high school, and my thing is, it starts with abortion, but abortion is not the ending point. Because if you go in Florida, we have a lady, Representative Stargill. Representative Stargill, her husband was in college. She is pro-choice. She denies states who didn't have birth control. And, if that situation was another way,
well, you're really, really choppy, honey. If you can hear me, you're really choppy. Can you get better reception?
You know what? I'm driving, so can you hear me better now?
Oh, that's better. Yeah, if much better.
Okay. So she's really anti-birth control and anti-everything, regardless of how she came up. And she came up with one of those WASP, upper middle class upbringings and stuff. And they're not just wanting to stop with abortion. They're wanting to stop with birth control. As a former school nurse, I have seen some of the women that are so responsible, the young girls that are now women that were responsible in being able to go to the health department and access their own birth control so they wouldn't become teen mothers. They were not going to stop having sex, but they had options and they were responsible. And I have facilitated a few women and and directing them and coordinating them to get to the clinic when they say, hey, I just had sex yesterday and I want, plan B. And to have those services available. Some of them didn't even have a way to get there to it. And it's like, but they made it. So my thing is not just the abortion part. The part about abortion is just the beginning because it's a deeper conversation into contraceptive and the other stuff. That's what I would say.
So, question. Let me start it off with back to the basics. And this is the one that somebody shout out to the people. Please, we ask y'all to. And I'm gonna do this. If whatever y'all donate today, I'm gonna just take it to. I know a women's group home shelter. I'm gonna take that there. I'm gonna donate to the women. I know a few of them who are trying to get cell phones so that way they can go to work and get back on the track of their lives. Do y'all feel that there is a shaming of women in their contraceptive rights? That damn if you do, damn if you don't. I just can't win. Do you think there's a shaming? I'm started up with, back to the basics, then Miss Trailerhood, and then Ruby and Koja. Do you feel like there's a shaming of you as a woman, regardless of whatever you do? Have kids, don't have kids, or get an abortion because I'm not financially ready, whatever. I'm going to get shamed. It's like no matter what I do about my womb, I'm going to get shamed about it.
I definitely think there's a stigma because when people go to having over 2 children and they have 3 or 4 people like, oh my God, how many kids is she going to have? Because having 3 kids these days is seen as a lot. And people are like, yeah, or what's she trying to do? And especially if she's a single mother or a mother that may be in a relationship with somebody and they're not married. Let's say they've been together 10 years and they haven't gotten married, but they got 3 kids. There's definitely a shaming in that. And when women go to having more children, people, I heard people say, well, she got 5 children. When is she going to stop? And sometimes it's not that the person just got 5. They automatically say it about the ones on welfare. But even if it's a person that's has a husband and they decide they want to have a big family, I think people definitely like, what they're trying to have a football team, a basketball team. So, like, they shouldn't be having that many. And now the thing is too, women over 40 or women who's choosing not to have. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Okay.
I would have to.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead. Answer. You know the question.
I would have to. I have to agree with that to a certain extent. I can speak from just personal experience, like I said, because whenever my mom found out she was pregnant with me, her and my dad, they weren't married, and back in the 80s, that was still frowned upon. You don't go out there, make a baby, and then not get married. So my parents ended up getting a gunshot wedding. It didn't last, but I mean, it just shows you how much has changed. I still say that it's still frowned upon. I mean, just for whether if you do or don't, it seems like if you're a woman over 30 and if you don't have kids, then I don't know, you must have some, I don't know, mental or emotional instability or something. It's just like, well, some people choose to have children later and some women, they don't choose to have any children. So I think at this point, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if a person is pro-life, pro-choice, there's always going to be something at a certain extent. It doesn't matter if you're if you're June Cleaver or if you're out there like Cardi B, it don't matter. I don't think it matters at this point. It's just you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. That's where I'm at on that.
And I'll say I take it back to respectability politics and trying to divvy up women, have us looking at each other crossways. And it's a deficit personally. Oh, she a baby maker. Oh, I can't hang out with her. She got too many children. I'm on my woman empowerment, being a businesswoman thing. So I definitely think it's a way to have women looking at each other like I'm better than her, or she not on my level, or she a homemaker. So we are united.
I agree. I think that it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. I will tell you guys, I'm on the end of both spectrums. I am classified in the baby maker category, but I am also a career woman. I am an executive. So, you know, I pull those 45 to 55 hour work weeks and everything. So, you know, it is a damned if you do, damned if you don't. But I really truly feel that we get that stigmatism from more other women than we do any men. I think that we as women are attacking each other based on our own personal viewpoints when it comes to either having kids or having abortions, or just choosing to make sure you're extra careful and not have kids at all. I think that we're attacking each other on that aspect. You know, I get shamed regularly from both sides, so I agree completely. And I don't mean to turn the tables or anything, but as far as that comment about financial abortion, that's a whole nother thing that I was actually going to want to talk about today too.
Go ahead. And actually, you guys, since all donations will be going towards the women's group home and safety and shelter for runaway young women. All donation proceedings will be going towards them. So you fellas, y'all can ask the women on the panel. I believe they are well rounded to handle that with Ruby, Miss Trailerhood, back to the basics and Koja. So you fellas, if you have $5 to come up and ask 3 questions on the panel. But the question asked by J.I. Are these women, and this is definitely going towards Miss Trailerhood, are these women for financial abortion or against? Thank you, J.I. Thank you. Hashtag financial abortion.
Yes, thank you for bringing it up, because it is something that when I was asked to be on this panel, I really wanted to make sure was brought up, because there is another issue there. You know, we talk about women empowerment. We talk about, you know, our body, my choice. We talk about, you know, the right to get an abortion because it is taxing on the body and it is my body. My question for the other women on this panel, and I'll say my 2 cents first, but is where do you stand as far as what the father's rights in the baby are? Because let me tell you my viewpoints and then we'll go from there. For me personally, I feel that if it is my choice to end the fetus's life, then it should be his choice. You know, if I get to choose, let me word it better, sorry. If I get to choose whether I'm going to be a mom or not, then why can't the dad choose if he's going to be a dad or not? You know, where does that level end? If I am able to get an abortion without the dad signing off saying, yes, go ahead, get this abortion, but then I can take him to court and insist on him helping me pay for this child that I have chosen to have, then why can he not take me to court for ending the child's life that he would have wanted to have? And before you ask, I fully also believe that when we have a child, it was not my body while I was pregnant. It was my child's body. What I ate, they ate. When I was sick, they were sick. It was my job to take care of my body, because in turn I was taking care of them.
Okay, well, I'll go first. And I'll play nice because I decided that I'm never responding to people who time me out to silence me when they have the power to do so. But since we're on the panel, I'll answer. So here's my position. I don't believe in the casual sex culture, period. And this actually is exactly one of the reasons why I don't believe in the casual sex culture, because we cannot group all men or all women into one pot. That is to say, I don't think it's fair to judge a woman who carries herself and her life as pro-life under the same, restrictions as you would a woman who is pro-choice. Why is that? Because if a woman truly does not believe in abortion, that's not even an option for her. Whereas if a woman does believe in abortion, maybe she's had one before, or she just believes in it in general for herself, depending on the option, well, then that's an actual option in play there for her. So I don't think that you can judge those women the same. Likewise, I don't think you can judge a man who has done absolutely nothing to protect himself from impregnating a woman and abandoning his sperm in her womb by the same judgments as you can a man who has done everything to protect himself and maybe a condom breaks or whatever. So likewise, I don't think that you can judge either of those men by the same standards as you can a man who says, I want to get you pregnant, let's have a baby. And then because the relationship breaks up somewhere before the baby's born, now he goes, well, I should be able to get financial abortion. No, you made a choice, just like she made a choice that this baby's coming now. We're going to have this baby. If you guys break up for some reason within that, oh, well, too bad. Y'all made a choice. That is a different scenario than getting into a situation with a woman who tells you she's on the pill and tells you she don't want no kids and tells you it's going to be fine and tells you she ain't got no diseases, and you're stupid enough, first of all, to bareback her. I don't understand that concept. You don't know this chick, but fine, you do that. You abandon your sperm inside of her. Y'all have made some type of implicit agreement. And then now that she's pregnant, she's saying, well, I'm pregnant, it's yours, I'm keeping it, it's your responsibility. I do think that these are all different situations. And this is why I don't believe in the casual sex culture, because when you are engaging in the casual sex culture, you are putting yourself, your finances, your future at risk. And once that happens, whether y'all will call me a hypocrite or not, when someone decides, hey, there's a baby here, and now the baby is coming and I'm growing it inside of my stomach, both people who created that child are responsible for it. And neither one of them can back out from that responsibility. So if you decided to abandon your sperm inside of some chick and she can do what she wants with it, and you just figured she would make the problem go away for you, and then she doesn't, well, hey, maybe you need a little responsibility check at the end of the day. But if I had a perfect world, we would not have this casual sex culture. People would have to have conversations, okay? And if we were going to be engaging in premarital, pre-deep relationship sex at all, there would be contracts. And people would sign contracts regarding what they are and are not willing to do. So if she says, well, if I get pregnant, I'm keeping it. And he says, well, if you get pregnant, I'm for sure I want nothing to do with it. He should be able to then sign that away at that time before they engage in sex. If she chooses to have no condom sex with him, if she chooses to not take the day after pill, well, she signed on to something, and that should be on her to choose to do. I come from a family where in general, I don't know anyone who's ever put anyone on child support. It's not really the way that we work, but I understand also that there's a frustration there where people are lied to, or guys say, yeah, I want you to have my baby. Yeah, I love you. Yeah, this is great. And then, a few months later, I don't like you anymore. I think I should be able to walk away from the whole thing. That's majorly problematic to me.
But at the same time, I mean, you're talking about it as if the man chose to not wear a condom. What if he did wear a condom and the condom broke or something happened? None of the contraception is 100%. So why, if both of them said, nope, I don't want no babies, I don't want no babies. Okay, great. But then the contraception fails. And the man says, I still don't want a baby. And the woman says, well, it's here and I kind of want it now. Why can he not,
But like I said, that's a different category of human, right? That's a different category. The man who says, I don't want any babies and does everything he can to protect himself and still it fails is in a different category to me than the guy who does the opposite. He does nothing to protect himself. He might even think he wants to be, I'm going to make you my baby mama and foolishness, gets her pregnant, and then has buyer's remorse. Too bad. But if you did do everything to protect yourself, you made it clear you don't want any babies. She said, I don't want babies either. And she changes her mind. Yes, I do think it should be on her because she's the one who chose to change her mind, right? But we live in a casual sex culture. People are not having these conversations before getting into bed with each other. They're just assuming it should work out for them. And that's where I think that it's careless and it's dangerous. And people need to protect themselves better than that, which is why the casual sex culture is so dangerous for men. You know that the laws and you know that the courts currently favor A, the woman, and B, the child, which to an extent, I am on the child side a little bit here with that. But either way, the courts favor the woman first, the child second, the man, right? So since you know that that's the case, do everything you can in your power to protect yourself. If you're doing nothing to protect yourself, and then there's a consequence to your actions, well, really? Come on, you know what the culture's like right now. You know what the laws are like right now. Until those laws change, you can't claim ignorance and be dumbfounded when you get screwed by them when you haven't been working to protect yourself.
If I can ask a question, because I've heard a lot, but I need a definition. Because until today, I hadn't even heard of financial abortion. So can somebody give me a definition of that?
Okay, basically it's to say at the point of conception, right? So it's like we're talking about a real abortion. So I find out I'm pregnant. I have the choice to have an abortion. I have a choice to not carry forward with having a pregnancy and a child I have to raise for 18 years. What JI is saying, right, and well, not just him, but men's rights movements are saying is they should have the right to financial abortion. So they can't control what happens in your body. That's on you. But at the point of that conception, when you find out you're pregnant, they should have the option to opt out. So they should be able to say, well, you know what?
Oh, wow, that's deep. So pretty much, let's
don't want to move as well and say this is your problem because that's what a financial abortion is in essence, right? And in some cases, I do agree with financial abortion, but I don't group all men into that category because I do think some people will jump on this as a chance to shirk responsibility when they have buyer's remorse. And so I don't think that buyer's remorse people should qualify, right? I do think people who were clear from the beginning and who have done what they can to protect themselves and something goes wrong, not, well, she told me she was on the pill, because that's still not you protecting yourself. But say the condom broke and you didn't realize or whatever. And then at that point, she ends up pregnant. Yes, I do think that you should be able to sign away all rights and responsibilities at that point if she chooses to move forward with the pregnancy. But I don't say that for all men, like I said.
So then how do we determine whether they should be able to sign away, have their financial burden on having a child they didn't want? How would we even go about deciding which men that pertains to and which men that doesn't?
See, this is the problem with the casual sex culture. People aren't having conversations before they have sex with people. I don't understand the concept of it, but this is why I think it's a stupid plan, right? Because you should be sitting down like, I want to create an app, like a literal actual app for this casual sex culture. And so basically you check off as a woman, right, all the things that you're willing to do sexually, A, and B, what all the things that you're doing contraception wise, all of the things you're willing to do should contraception fail, and whether or not you're going to have an abortion, whether or not you're going to keep the baby, and blah, blah, blah. And he does the same. And so you already, before you ever even see each other's faces, you already know where the other person stands. So therefore, if you get pregnant, he's already checked off on the boxes. I want nothing to do with that baby. I'm going to sign away all rights and responsibilities, and then that will cover him, right? And then that way you are being clear from the start. The problem is, how do you prove that as a man that you were clear from the start? I don't want a baby. I've done everything to protect myself. And she said she was on the pill. The condom broke. She said she was going to take Plan B. I bought it for her. She didn't take it, right? Look, I mean, there's no way of him proving, and that is part of the problem, right? So then either way, no matter which way you swing it, then people who shouldn't get caught up, and people who should get caught up, you know what I mean? Like, I guess that's the problem. So it's like, I agree with the concept, but not like on a whole. Another thing is, though, when it comes to abortions, like, people think women can just have endless abortions and it has no effect on their body or their ability to ever carry a baby to term. And so the more abortions that you have, the more likely it is you're actually creating harm to yourself and your ability to carry a baby to term. So, you know, I would say that as well when it comes to financial abortion. There's got to be some type of provision on there where he can't just sit there and impregnate 25 different women, but, well, I get financial abortion. Like, no, there should be some type of, through the courts, like some type of restriction, like maybe, okay, you get 1 or 2 for free, and then the third one, well, sorry, man, you're responsible for 30%, and then the fourth one, okay, now you're responsible for 70%, because you shouldn't, you know, one way or the other on both sides, like, it comes down to, we are rewarding irresponsibility, and we are rewarding carelessness, and the children are the ones that are suffering worst of all. And we're doing nothing about that. And for me, that's what I care about. I care about the kids in this scenario more than I care about the women or the men, to be honest with you. And because I did everything I could to make sure I did not have a baby out of wedlock, to make sure I didn't have a baby when I was not ready, when I was a child, when I didn't have, you know what I mean? I did everything within my power, because you do have control over yourself and what you do. And then, you know, once I found Mr. Right, get married, okay, but now, you know, it was a matter of making sure that we have our shit together. And now it's about me going through a bunch of stuff that has to do with my health to make sure that I'm healthy and off of certain medications, because I have some health issues, so that way I can carry a baby healthily to term. I'm doing everything to put that kid first. It's a kid I don't even have. So I believe that we are rewarding carelessness in both men and women too much. And the problem is that we're rewarding it, maybe not through the court systems, but we act like every single person who's creating babies out there and not taking care of them is on child support, and they're not, right? And in fact, that's part of the issue too, is a lot of the people who get caught up with this child support stuff are the one-offs. They're the guy who, he's not like a piece of crap or anything like that. Just, you know, maybe he was in a relationship with this chick, or, you know, it's a one-off, the condom broke or something, but otherwise he's a good guy. But the guys who are like the baby makers, who are really irresponsible, who don't care, they're not getting caught up in the child support system. They're not getting reprimanded at all. So their carelessness and their irresponsibility is being rewarded while other people are being slapped down instead. So I have an issue with the system all around.
I agree with you on some points. I do disagree. I do know someone personally who has 6 kids, a guy, and he has had to deal with the child support system since the very first child. And he has been beat down and beat down and beat down by that system. And it wasn't his choice whether the kid was there or not. But let me turn things around a little bit and ask you this. What about when the woman does choose to have an abortion, but the man did really want a child? Does he have a right to turn around and sue her?
Here's my issue. Again, within the casual sex system is an issue for me. So I'm going to take that away, and I'm going to go back to regular relationships, which is something I understand. So if a man and a woman are together and they both say that they want a child, and then when she gets pregnant, she has buyer's remorse. I do think that there's an issue. Now, I'm not sure how you deal with the issue, because I do think that the right thing to do would be for her to carry the baby to term and sign away all her rights to him. right? I mean, obviously he'd have to agree to that in advance for her to carry the baby to term. Like, oh, I don't want anything to do with this kid. Okay, cool, I'll take it. So I do think that that would be the right thing to do. But there's the inherent issue of, as you said, when a woman gets pregnant, like, this is not like a matter of, well, yeah, well, she popped in an embryo and a few hours later she'll put it into an incubator for 9 months. Like, it's growing inside of her body, right? It's impacting her body, her health, her wellness. It could be impacting her job prospects, all kinds of stuff. So, ultimately, it's a difficult question because I'm not sure how you really deal with it, because I don't think it would be right to force a woman to carry a baby to term either. But at the same time, I don't think it's right that you and a man agree to have a child. And once you have that child, now you have buyer's remorse and you're just going to take that baby away from him. So I'm not sure how you would deal with it, but I do think that there's an inherent issue there as well.
Do you mind if I answer JI's question directly? I mean, after hearing all that, I'd have to say I'm definitely for men's rights. So I have to be for financial abortion on based upon all that was said. Because at the end of the day, a woman, we should know our bodies. We should know when we're ovulating, and we should know, as far as what days we are the most fertile. So if I'm in a relationship with somebody, it's like, okay, I don't want to get pregnant. So we're definitely not going to have sex on, let's say, the 22nd through the 29th, because those are my days where I'm ovulating. And, that once that sperm hits that egg, that's it. You got baby. So I'd say that again, it does come back to there should be accountability on both sides. Like, as far as men wrapping it up, and as far as a woman knowing when she's ovulating. If I'm ovulating, okay, I don't need to be out there, doing nothing. Now, that's just me.
I agree.
I guess that's the problem, right? And like I said, I think the casual sex culture is rewarding and encouraging irresponsible behavior with both men and women in a variety of ways. So I just overall disagree with the casual sex culture. And a lot of the things that we're going to speak about today are ultimately tied to the casual sex culture. You think about the shotgun wedding era. There was no, other than prostitutes, right? There was no people flitting around just having sex with any and everybody. They might have sex with their boyfriends, and then they get in a situation. There's a shotgun wedding with this person you were already in love with, maybe not ready to marry, but oh well, you got her pregnant, so it is what it is, right? Point is that that was the era where they were not rewarding irresponsibility, right? Y'all love each other. You just chose to make this decision together. Oops, now you got her in trouble or whatever. Oh, well, you guys have just signed up the next 25 years of your life to each other. Simple. There's a lack of accountability in both men and women as far as looking at the consequences of their choices and their actions and their desires. So if you want the casual sex culture, if you want to be on these apps and being able to sleep with a new person every night, there are going to be inherent dangers and consequences to that behavior. I mean, on Friday, we just answered a letter from a guy who got the herpes simplex virus from, one of his sex partners, right? And so now, that's one of the things we never talk about with all of this barebacking, is the 25 to 50% of the population that has herpes while people are out there barebacking and can pass it on with no symptoms, by the way, amongst other STDs that are permanent. There are 4 of them, where we don't talk about any of that. But these are all consequences of this irresponsible casual sex culture that no one wants to talk about. They just want to talk about getting out of the problem after the fact.
Sorry, go ahead.
The tone of this kind of a little bit irritating. What grown people do, and even some of these young people do in their bedroom, they should exercise the most responsibility. The fact when we say they out here thotting around and this and that, let grown people or even teenagers that do, the most we could do is ask them to handle it responsibly, which some people don't do. But as far as if this person want to start around, that's their business. We get into a whole nother realm of stuff when we go to judging people for how they do and what they do. Yes, all decisions have consequences. And those people, if they make a bad decision, they're going to live with it. We're not going to cut out 100% people making mistakes, because we get real judgmental when it comes to sex. Some people go out and make bad decisions when they go to college and get a bunch of student loans and don't graduate. But somehow when we attach sex to something, it goes to another level. We're going to make mistakes in life, whether young or old. Some of us going to go in business ventures. And guess what? If we go and sign up for the loan, we do have to pay those. One debt that actually don't even end, that's longer than child support, is student loan debt. Are we going to go and say, hey, well, you went to school to be a social worker and you got $40,000 worth of debt for a job that paid $28,000? We don't have that same stigma and vitriol for people who make those mistakes, but yet we act like people cannot make mistakes in other areas, and that the way that they view things at 18 and 19 and 21 is not different. This is a growth process in life, and I think we need to save some of that judgment.
So yeah,
when we have lived 100% perfect life, because half of the people on here, they don't had a thought moment, and they don't want to talk about that thought moment. Say, well, I only had one thought moment. We all had some premarital sex and some other things. So if you only did it one time and somebody else did it 20 times or whatever, we make mistakes in different areas. And I think it's just so hypocritical to say, and people, this is what they do, say, oh, my mistake was less than your mistake, so I'm better than you, so I get to talk on this talking point and that talking point, because that's not the mistake I made.
Right. And I mean, yeah, everybody makes mistakes, and the whole casual sex thing is a topic, yes, and it is a concern in some ways, yes. It is also a primal instinct, yes. You have to remember, yes, we as humans are advanced, but we are, in fact, animals. Sex is sex. It is a primal instinct. It's been proven by scientists to be a primal instinct. However, I would like to get away from the casual sex side of things and think of more along the lines of, sometimes things happen that is just beyond our control. Maybe it's fate, who knows? But I'll take it to a personal level even. I was not supposed to have kids. I was told by multiple doctors I would never have kids. I had 3 miscarriages. I had one doctor tell me that if I did try to carry another child, that it would be extremely dangerous. Yet here I am with 2 beautiful children. So, and the fact of the matter is he could have looked at me and said, I don't want kids. But that doesn't mean that what we had was casual. That means that things just happen. Mistakes happen. Sometimes they're wonderful mistakes.
Well, I don't know about like if you're talking about like your husband or another person, but there's a difference between being in a relationship with someone and not ready for kids right now, and then a mistake happens, and hooking up with a new person at the club Friday, Saturday. And that's casual sex culture. These people don't even know their names. They maybe know their nickname at best.
Why
they know what the guy's
somebody
face
else
looks
do with
like.
their
They know
vagina
what the
or
girl's ass
penis
looks like.
bother
That's all
you?
they know.
Why does what somebody else do with their penis or vagina bother you?
Right.
Why do you have
it doesn't
any
bother
input on
me.
it? As long as they're not sticking, though, from the way you're talking, it sounds like you do have an actual judgment against it. What other people do with their penis and vagina, as long as they're not sticking it in me, is not my business. And on the
No,
whole,
you know what? It's
we
not
will
my business, but
educate
here's
them.
the issue.
We should educate them to be responsible. But this is where the thing goes into, there should be a time in life where we can send this message out. People aren't going to always be in a relationship. And the first person you meet should not be the first person you marry. And every now and then you're going to be in between relationships or whatever. And giving these children this message, the first person you meet, you have to marry, you have to be in a relationship, you have to have sex with, and this and that. We just need to teach them to be responsible. Because
but Coach, I never said that.
is the
But
marrying
I never said
age,
that,
people are married after age 30.
But
So
I never said that though. Wait, no, I never said that. I never said the premarital sex is wrong. I never said that, oh, I have an issue with you because of how you choose to use your penis or vagina. Hold on, hear me out. But here is the issue. This is what it comes down to. We have so many issues right now involving out of wedlock birth rates, involving parents who aren't ready, who are neglecting their children, who aren't investing time or finances into their children. We have so many children right now who are suffering, not because mommy and daddy chose to have sex with partners or whatever, but it's because of a very irresponsible attitude that is going along with the casual sex culture. People are saying not wrap it up, not be careful, not be conscious, not know who you're sleeping with. What they're saying is about getting that walk. What they're saying is about getting that big D and blah, blah, blah. And no one's focusing on responsibility. No one's focusing on self-protection. No one's focusing on protecting themselves, but everyone has to continue suffering the consequences of not protecting themselves, which is fine. You're an adult and you have to deal with the consequences of the choices you made. But my issue is that the children have to deal with the consequences of the decisions you made. And ultimately, at the end of the day, children are suffering because of that. That is my issue.
When I go and sit in family court, there are not 18 and 19-year-olds in there. The divorce rate is what, 51, 52%. And when I go and sit in those courts, there is not this stereotypical 18-year-old in there with kids arguing about this stuff. It is 35-year-olds. It is 40-year-olds. So this narrative that it is just 18, 19, 21, and 22-year-old irresponsible people toddling around and don't have time for their children and that is not accurate.
Who mentioned an age group?
Issues.
But wait, who mentioned an age group?
Children being neglected.
Children.
Somebody
as in
just
the
said about children being
neglected. I'm not talking about married people or the ages that they are when they're married or divorced. I'm talking about the children. Actual children of the age of 18 who are having broken homes and families. That's what I'm talking about.
I get the point.
It's pointing. Let's get the narrative away from that it's just children. Right now, the marriage age is what? 30 to 35 for Black women. There's gonna be people. So the image that it's just 18-year-olds out there starting around and this and that, that's not true. The most we can do is teach these people to be responsible and try to have responsible sex and wrap it up. But to sit here and say people starting around and this and that to try to give the image that it's just this and that, it is across the board. It is younger people, it is middle-aged people, it is older people. One of the highest STD rates actually was among seniors.
Again, who said anything about an age group? But I love the fact that you said we have to teach people.
When we're around here talking about this stuff, there's a tremendous increase in STDs among the senior community.
Right.
So we got people out here on walkers starting around. So, but
don't have responsibility right now. Thank you for agreeing.
We're trying to give the impression, and we're talking like when we say starting around, giving the impression that it's all across the board. So I don't want us to come away from this and have the impression that it's just young people. Across the board is
but no one said anything about it being just young people.
But the judgment and the stigma that comes across in some of these statements is whatever, and I'm from school, whatever people do, white hair, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, they're doing it responsibly, or if they're doing it irresponsibly, to try to educate them and help them to do it responsibly, but it's their business. And if somebody want to hook up every weekend with somebody different and they putting on a condom and they're doing it responsibly, it ain't none of my business to have judgment on them.
Wow. And so at the end of the day, since you said it multiple times, is that we have to teach people how to be responsible because people are going about life irresponsibly right now. And see, again, I don't really care about the adults. Y'all do what you want to do. But at the end of the day, my issue, and I'm going to continue repeating it, is on the impact that our decisions as adults are having on the next generation. And then what ends up happening is those people grow up one day and they're the ones who experience all of this from their parents and from the older generation. And now that they don't understand what a married home looks like, they don't understand what a functional relationship looks like, they don't understand what functionality or responsibility when it comes to certain things looks like at all. And you know what they are? They're very disappointed. They're hurt. They're confused. And then you know what? The women in that generation are complaining about those men. Those men are complaining about those women. But guess what? They were born and bred that way. And what we're doing is we're propagating a cycle that continues over and over and over again.
Cycles,
Okay.
If cycles were repeated in that way,
to be responsible for those actions and what we're creating.
If cycles were repeated in that way, we still be stuck on the cycle of the June Cleaver household if cycles were repeated.
First of all, if we continue to talk over each other, we're getting nowhere. We're not having an intelligent conversation talking over each other. Secondly, where's the line? Because we can talk about, casual sex and the effect it has on the children, and but at the same time, there are children who grow up miserable, who had, their parents were married and made the careful decision to have kids, and that kid is miserable. And there are kids out there who mom and dad hooked up on a drunken night and have the most amazing life, even if mom and dad aren't together. So where's the line? Why are we condemning someone, for, having sex and it leading to, oops, I'm pregnant, but I'm having this child, and okay, and we make it, we make things happen. But, then we talk, about responsibility and having those conversations. And there are married people out there who have that conversation and decide together to have the child, and the child's miserable. So where's the line?
Okay, well, here's the thing, though, right? Exceptions prove the rules, and the statistics prove at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, that children are happier, more functional, more successful in a functional, successful two-parent home. And so you're absolutely right in the fact that two people can get married and be miserable and therefore have a miserable home for that child. That's less likely than the alternative, but more importantly is the people who are creating these miserable homes probably came from miserable homes themselves. And so again, I'm still talking about a cycle that continues to be propagated. Whereas if we aren't modeling functional, happy behavior in homes for children, then those children are going to grow up and have no idea what those things look like or how to create them themselves.
But you're also talking about statistics, which can be proven wrong time and again, because the statistics are based off of polls. Well, they don't poll everyone. They poll certain clumps of people, which means that only those certain clumps of people are asked these questions. So how do you make that based off of a whole country of people when you're only asking a few?
Well, no, a poll is different than actual research. So, for example, going by the census and then analyzing the data there, or conducting research where you are analyzing the data from census and other bureau results over decades, and then again analyzing those results, where in that case then your population is maybe not all of the United States, because obviously some people don't fill out the census, but a very fair majority of the population where you can actually see the trends develop. So that's very different than a poll. And I totally agree with you, because polls can be very biased because they're only really surveying a particular population. But that's very different than the types of research that I tend to refer to.
I still feel that statistics can be just as biased as anything.
One of my favorite quotes, what they taught me in statistics class, there are three types of lies: lies, damn lies, and statistics. And I forget who the writer was who said that.
It was Mark Twain.
Yes, that's him. But the line draws at your vagina and your penis. Because at the end of the day, we have to allow people to be themselves. And say, that is not the decision I will make for myself. We have to let everybody have their journey and their learning area. And we're all going to make different mistakes and stuff, but it is not my place to sit and judge it. The most I can say is that is not the decision I will make for myself, to try and educate people to move forward. And a lot of this stuff comes in if somebody starting around or this or that.
Miss Koja,
And
Miss Koja, hold on. I was asked to tell you. They want to know: do you agree with financial abortion? Do you agree with financial abortion for men? Also, and
no, I
letting you
don't.
guys know, Ms. BMT said I can come on the panel. She said, let me take that down. If you pay $2, you can come up and ask a question. But I know you dudes do not know how to. Y'all can ask a question. Then I'm sitting y'all down. But y'all can pay $2 and y'all can come up and ask the women a question, and all the women would answer the question respectfully. But the women would have to agree on that one. But yes, Ms. Coulter, they want to know about financial
Okay. About
abortion. A man should be able to have financial abortion. His right over his wallet.
unfortunately, until they get to the time where men are able to control their fertility, they don't get a choice. I have 3 sons, and I tell them, your choice ends at the condom. That is your choice. Or you can have the choice of anal, oral, or hand job. But after a woman is pregnant, you don't. Your decision ends at whether you put on that condom or not, or what process you take. I do not believe in financial abortion. Right now, there has been on the cusp of developing male birth control, even to the point where they developed it and the men had the option. And when they did it, they said there were too many side effects to it and they stopped. And I just want men to know that when it comes to birth control for women, there's side effects to it also, but we deal with it. I could even speak of, I had the Noraplant. I actually had like 3 Noraplants. It was the birth control that was good, I think, for 5 years. Yeah, 5 to 7 years. I forget which one. So it had multiple side effects till I got her. I was bleeding heavily for 30, 31 days, but I stuck through it because they say it would taper off. And some of the people who get the Depo-Provera, the Depo shot, they have that side effect. But when the men put value on a Viagra pill more than because demand dictate the market. And the men demand it and would follow through with the birth control pill. And even some of these men say if a male birth control option came out, they would not take it. And so I would tell men to put more demand on having a male birth control option. They even have reversible vasectomies to be able to take their fertility and their penis literally in their own hands. And that right now, it's up to the woman if she decides if she wants to have an abortion or not. And that's just how it is until something changes. And men can make it change. They could go and demand, just like they demanded a coronavirus vaccine, they can put the demand out there instead of pills to make your penis hard for a week at a time, like Cialis, they can demand a birth control option.
If I can just address a little point that you brought up, because I wanted to actually bring this up earlier, and True Julie asked about it. So they do actually have a male birth control pill. It's there. They have now a second version of the male birth control pill going through studies right now. The first one was rejected for low compliance. Basically, in essence, men were getting all the same side effects that women get from the birth control pill, and so they refuse to take it because why do you want to take a pill that lowers your sex drive and makes your erection less hard and makes you tired and gain weight and a bunch of stuff.
So Ruby.
so they have a second one in production, which apparently has the same side effects, but affects less of the population. But I wanted to bring up another thing. It's called Saheli, Saheli. It is a non-hormonal birth control pill, widely distributed in India, totally safe, 0 side effects. North America knows about this. They have rejected it as far as a birth control pill. They are studying it because it has other functions. So that it currently is under research in America, but not as a birth control pill, despite the fact that you would almost guarantee 100% compliance if women could take a pill every day. It didn't affect their weight, didn't affect their moods, didn't affect their sex drive, didn't affect them negatively. So they had no reason. I had to stop taking because people think that, there's 30 different forms of birth control. Well, not really. They're all hormonal birth control. So if you tend to have a bad effect with the pill as hormonal birth control, you probably will have similar effect with Norplant or the other hormonal types. But this is non-hormonal, and they don't want to distribute it in North America. And, to be fair, I'll go back to, I think it was Coach's earlier point, which is why, because the birth rate is too low. They don't want the birth rate to go even lower, which would definitely happen if you had 100% compliance with the female birth control pill. So as a result, they won't distribute it. So just so you know.
Okay, J.I. has a question, not dialogue. Question.
I got you, BMT. I'm gonna follow the rules. So my question simply, because I know BMT wants me to stay in line. Do the women on the panel agree that women should be treated equally to men in society with no differentiations? Simple question. That's it.
Yeah, I told you not to ask that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last part.
All right, let me repeat it. Do the women on the panel agree that women should be treated equally to men in society and under the law? That's it. No differentiations made based upon you being a man or a woman. Just everybody treat the same. You agree?
I don't know that it's any different. If we both get caught doing 65 and a 45, we get the same ticket. The only thing is some days you get an officer that may say, hey, I'm going to let you off with a warning, whether that be male or female. If I go and commit murder, I get the same thing. People say this, but I tell anybody to please go to their local Department of Corrections. I used to do it when I worked for DOC, and I would look up the crime, the arrest and the supervised visitation and the sentences and stuff. Instead of repeating talking points, go in there. And they used to have a feature where you could do it out by crime. And you go to looking at the number of women that are in there, and people say women are getting long sentences. And it's a whole bunch of women that used to be on probation for actually welfare fraud. So when they say equal under the law, if I go and commit first-degree murder, I'm probably going to get the same depending on how good of an attorney I have or what.
So what's your answer? Yes. When you guys answer, can you say yes or no as well? It's okay. So yes. You said yes. Okay.
Do the law treat us any other? What I asked the question is, do the law treat us any differently?
I'm not allowed to dialogue.
Oh, okay. Well, put it in the chat.
Anybody else? Ms. Trailer, Ruby?
I'm 1000% about it being equal across the board, man, woman, whoever. I think that it should be, and not just with the law, with everything. Although I do think that in more ways than others that we already have the full equality. I will say that, if I get pulled over and cry and have a big, huge sob story, I usually get off from that ticket. Whereas my husband, if he cried, they'd probably laugh at him. But I think that we do already have a lot more equality for men and women than not.
My husband drives and delivers medication, and he get pulled over all the time. And depending on how nice, well, not all the time, how nice he is to the officer when the officer approaches him, he's gotten a couple of warnings, and he didn't cry or anything. So I got pulled over in Polk County, Florida, and that old redneck wasn't giving me not one break. So I guess it kind of depends on the situation, but I wouldn't attribute that to male or female. It's just what officer you get and what time of day they get. Because I was pregnant, one officer came to give me a ticket, and I put my fat ankle on the dashboard and say, give me my ticket. I ain't got time for this. I'm not finna beg you. Let me go. I just worked 12 hours.
Okay. Well, I do not believe, if we're using equal meaning the same, I do not believe men and women are equal, but I do believe they should be treated with equity. And part of that would be that, yes, they should be treated equally under the eyes of the law. Now, the reason why I say obviously they're not equal because they're not the same. They don't function the same. Their brains have evolved to have different functions and purposes. Obviously, their bodies have as well. So they're not the same. But under the eyes of the law, they should be treated with equity And therefore, I mean, for the most part, that's going to work out to be equality. But there are going to be issues, obviously, where since they're literally not the same physical human being, then the ways in which, say, the law protect them according to medical issues or whatnot might be slightly different.
Just to answer the question, I would say yes, men and women should be treated equally under the law, but we know that that's not happening. So currently not right now, it's not happening, but it should be equal across the board, because if I go out there and if I sexually molest a child, a little boy, then I should be getting the same thing a man should get. But for some reason, because I don't have a penis, because but if I don't have a penis to penetrate, I don't know, for some reason society's like, oh, we know we're gonna give her 3 years probation. No, you should just throw my tail up under the jail. Don't let me out. I mean, that's just how I feel that it should be. I should be a registered sex offender and the whole 9 yards. So
right. See, and that's where that's one of the things I meant with equity. The problem is since society is more afraid of men because they are bigger and stronger and therefore, something to be more afraid of than women, they get harsher sentences or, are treated as a bigger threat than women are, based on, these kind of perceived things that we put on a perp or on a criminal, right? As far as, are they threatening? Are they dangerous? Are they this? Are they that? And so to me now, well, if we treat men and women equally under the eyes of the law, looking at them as far as a physical threat, well, then we're not going to give them the same penalty, which I think is an issue, which is why I said, well, no, we should be looking at it from an equity standpoint, whereas in whether she used feminine wiles and he used force or whatever the case is, it doesn't matter. If they committed the same crime, they should be doing the same time. Ultimately, if they committed the same violation, however they reached to that, being able to accomplish that violation, it should be seen as the same crime with the same danger level, and therefore should get the same penalty. As you said, do they? No. But should it be? Yes.
My next question is, should women be protected by men that have no vested interest in them, meaning they're not in a relationship, they don't know them? Should men just protect women in general, in your opinion?
That's a tough question. I like that question because it's got me thinking. I don't feel the need to be protected at all, but that's because, that's my upbringing. I was raised to be a strong, independent woman. I love my husband. He takes care of me. I take care of him. But I don't feel that I need anybody to take care of me, husband, boyfriend, significant other, or not, stranger on the street. Now, if I was walking down the street and something was going down, I would gravitate towards people that I knew were trying to help others out, but that would be man, woman, or whatever. I don't feel that men need to feel that they have an obligation to protect women. No.
Okay, well, I'll go next since everyone else is muted up. When it comes to someone you don't know in a situation you're walking upon and you have no idea how it started, who's at fault, whatever, no, you shouldn't put yourself at risk and step into something that you have no idea about. But when it comes to people that you know, whether they're yours or not, and again, equity rules here, because as a woman, I think women should step in just as much as I think men should step in to protect your own, to try to diffuse situations if possible, try to get people talking instead of fighting, or whatever the case may be, if possible. And as a woman, for example, if I see a woman coming at a man, I'm going to step in between of that, because I know that he would get a harsh punishment for hitting her or hitting her back, whereas I will not, because it's woman on woman. So I do think that there should be some accountability and responsibility for the people that you know or claim or own, you know, as far as your children, your people, whatever. But as far as just like random on the streets, you don't know what's going on, and you're just supposed to step in and jump to the defense of this woman when she might be the one at wrong, she might be the danger, she might be the one who started all of this. You have no idea. Like, no. Ladies?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I kind of had missed out on the question, so that's why I didn't respond.
The question is, should men protect women that they have no vested interest in? Meaning, should men just protect women in general that's not their girlfriend or wife or family member or anything?
I don't make a hard and fast rule. I think every person should do what they're compelled to do. If you step in and don't do it, there's no set rules for everybody. And life would be great if we could put everything in a box and tie it up and say you should do this, this, and that. That is for every individual to judge that situation and those dynamics, what's happening. Because I'm not going to see the dynamics in that particular circumstance and to make that determination for themselves.
Thank you, J.I., for the $5 super chat. And J.I. writes, do not use my money for women. Nothing. Use it for tricking, alcohol, or men-related cause. Hashtag financial, you know what, for men. So, at J.I.'s request, we will donate it towards the men's group home. For men who are getting temp jobs, we will take the $5 and donate it towards those men that are getting jobs at the factory. Thank you, J.I. You may ask 4 more questions. Go ahead. I hate this nigga so much.
I didn't answer his last one, so I'll just say no. He don't know me. You're not obligated. It's simple.
No, back to the basics. Don't say that.
He ain't obligated. He don't know me, and just like I wouldn't want somebody walking blindly into something, and then something can go wrong, and then another person end up getting hurt over me. Nah.
All right. My next question. Very simply, if the Titanic, I'm just assuming everybody knows what the Titanic is and what happened. There is a classic phrase, what happened when the boat was going down? They said 2 groups of people were called to the lifeboats, women and children. Women were called even before children. If that incident were to happen today, and instead of calling for women and children, they called for men and children, and they said, look, men can row these boats. They're stronger physically, and they'll be better able to protect the children. And they left the women to die on the boat while the men escaped. Would any of you have an issue with that?
I most definitely would have an issue with that. But before anybody starts getting all harsh with me, I would have an issue with it because it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't be women and children first. It shouldn't be men and children first. The reason it was women and children first back then is because there was this frailty viewed when looking at women. And I think that we have started to get away from that and we're moving in the right direction. But yeah, no, I would definitely have an issue with men and women first, or men and children first, or women and children first. Children first. Obviously, we need people to row that boat. So we would need men and women both. But I think it would have to be some different way of determining that, which would take probably a little more thought process.
I think everybody have to do what it takes to look them in the face the next day. I'm the only person who I have to deal with judgment. So I let adults make their decisions for themselves. As long as you can look yourself in the mirror and you cool with your decision, then that's on you. It is not my job here to judge anybody in this lifetime, unless I'm sitting on the jury.
No, I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with it. Just say a prayer for me as that shit goes down. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, well, and I mean, obviously, I don't know exactly, but I would think that the men likely wanted their wives and children to be saved, because that's generally the way it goes. Men save the women, women save the children. You want to save your genetic offspring. So I'm guessing that had a lot to do with it. Also, if you're going to end up in a brand new land, you need more women than you need men in order to repopulate the planet, or your little community again, so your genes don't die off. So I'm guessing that's why they did it. And so far as today's day and age, where clearly that would not be an issue because every land is discovered, and we'd be saved at some point, I would think that the balance to me should fall towards saving all of the children. Obviously, again, you need men who are going to row the boats, and you do need some women to care for the children while the men are rowing. So I would say, as far as the adultship, you probably would have a balance of men and women, but save the children. That would be what I would want to do.
To the people in the chat, no, I'm not going to answer no questions because I'm not going to waste my time going back and forth with y'all over some words that I don't really feel passionately about some hypothetical situation. So if you just want to find somebody to tongue wrestle with about an issue I don't really give a fuck about, it's not going to be me.
What's your question, J.I.? Go ahead, ask your question. I know you got the question.
Yes, I do.
And no more hypotheticals. I know you're gonna be on it. Yeah. No more hypotheticals. I know you like doing that shit.
Okay, perfect. I got you. So, if and I like this example for it's very telling in the answer. So, if a woman, okay, gets pregnant, decides to just give that child up for adoption after realizing she's unfit, do you all agree that after she gives that child up for adoption, she should then be put on child support and have to pay the adopting family or the state while it's waiting to be adopted? She should have to be put on child support, and failing to pay that child support, she should be jailed and have her license revoked and all that. And even once that child is adopted, she should have to pay child support on it until it's 18. Do you all agree with that? Yes or no?
A woman can't actually give a child up for adoption without the father's consent. So it would be both of them would have to sign their rights away. So there's never going to be a situation that father is not going to have the option to adopt a child unless they cannot locate the father or they don't know who the father is. For example, the case of somebody who was on crack, who was tricking and slept with several different men. But a woman can't give a child up for adoption without the father's consent. And yes, they can. When foster care steps in and takes a child, they can assess, if the parents have the financial means, child support to that parent while that child is in foster care.
Did you say that you should have to pay child support till that child turns 18? You said yes.
If the thing is, how you worded the question, a mother cannot just sign away her rights just like a father can't. If a woman decided she didn't want the child, she would actually be giving custody to the father, and the father has every right to put her on child support. Whichever parent has the child has the right to seek financial support.
Did you hear what
I'm saying? But you said in the question, a woman can't give up a child for adoption without the father there to sign consenting to the adoption, and then the child belongs to nobody. But if the mother did decide to give the father custody, or the state decided, he has every right to seek out financial support. But there will never be a situation, because it's not legal for a woman to give up custody without the father's consent to give for adoption.
The next person, go ahead, ask a question. Next person. I got another person got to come up. So,
okay, well, I'll answer then. So, shockingly, I actually agree with what I think Koja said, which is that if you're giving up your child to for adoption, then both parents have to sign away those legal rights. And once you're signing away your legal rights, which is exactly, and financial responsibilities, which is exactly what I think in the case of financial abortion, that's what you in essence would be doing, is signing away all rights. So once you've done that, then you are no longer responsible for that child, because someone else is taking full responsibility for that child and becoming that child's parents and guardian. In the case of the parents, though, and I mean, it's problematic overall insofar as the fact that fathers do get custody of their children. No adoption there, just they get custody of their children. And women are on child support, and there's only, I mean, it's close. It's pretty close to percentage wise, as far as I think 18% of women are on child support for their children. And then we'll say about 50% of them don't pay that child support, or don't pay it completely. But unlike men, they aren't penalized in the same way, right? So they're not locking down on women and throwing them in prison and suspending their licenses and whatever. So if that is really the question that we're getting at here, which is, should women be penalized in the same way that men are for not paying child support? I do agree that they should. Whatever penalties that men are receiving, women should also receive. But I don't think that men should be receiving these penalties to begin with. I do not think men should be getting their licenses suspended and being thrown into prison and all of that bullshit for not being able to pay child support, because normally the case is they got laid off or something. It's not like they're deadbeats. They just were in a financial bind in the moment. And this woman is basically coming to destroy him. And I don't see how your license being suspended or you being put into prison makes it possible for you to ever earn the income needed to pay the child support that's supposedly benefiting the kid. So if that's ultimately the question, should women be penalized for not paying child support when they should be responsible, like in the case of the father having custody? Absolutely.
Listen, I'm gonna turn this over to Brother Speak so he can ask the question.
Can
But
I
nobody answered the
respond to
question
that?
that
Can I
I asked.
respond to what
Hold on a second.
Ruby just
Nobody
said?
answered the question I asked.
We got.
I have a direct answer.
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Trolling.
Let me clarify that, because nobody answered what I asked. I didn't say anything about a father. I didn't say anything about father rights. I didn't say anything about that. I said if a woman gives her child up for adoption, okay, puts it in the system, should she be put on child support to pay to that family and to the state until that child turns 18? That's all I asked. And failing to pay it, should she be penalized? I didn't say anything about a father or right or any of that. It was a simple question.
I'm addressing the fact that it can't happen without a father's consent. You can't give up a child for adoption without the father's consent. And they do have cases in the state where children are in foster care and they were taken, and the parent has to pay child support to the state while that child is in the state's custody. It happens, definitely. The question about Ruby, child support is really not collected on only 20% of the cases.
This is not. We're not doing rhetoricals. We're not doing responses. These guys are paying to ask y'all questions, so y'all just asking the questions. You guys ask the women the questions. Listen, how do they answer? I get it. Let them answer their question. That's going to be the answer. They get it wrong on the test. They get it wrong. They're going to answer their question. Go ahead, Ms. Taylor, and back to the basics.
Okay, so basically, I'm going to keep this short, sweet, and to the point. To your question, J.I., by today's standards, yes, absolutely. If you're giving up that child, you should be paying child support to the people who are wanting to take care of that child. But I also feel that child support needs to be re-looked at as well. But that's a whole other topic. Yes, you should be helping pay for the child that you created, that you decided you don't want.
I approve of that message. That's a yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Brother Speak. You have your 3 questions. Go ahead, ask your 3 questions.
Okay, how y'all doing today? So
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good. Good. Okay, my first question. Do the ladies up here feel that since it takes 2 people to create a child, do y'all believe that while this woman is pregnant with this child, do you believe that it is the father's child as well? Or do you believe if it's in the woman's body, that child is hers and only hers?
I would love to go first on this. I 1000% agree that it is the man and the woman's child. That my body is not my body when I am carrying our child. I think that it's ridiculous and obscene, really, to think that it is not the man's child until it is out here breathing on its own in the world. I think that that's a very narrow mindset. That it took two people to conceive that child. It takes two people to raise that child. And even when it's inside my body still, it is our child, not mine.
What they say, decisions, actions have consequences. And let's distinguish the way that children are brought about. If a child is brought about in a marriage or in a relationship, I'm sure that no mother is gonna deny the father the right to rub on that belly, to sit there, hey baby, come and touch my belly, to kick, to go to the sonogram, to hear every little thing about that baby, because that's what their actions created. Now, if it's a situation of somebody who didn't want a baby and they fussing and fighting with the mama and the this and that, I'm sure that woman during her pregnancy is not gonna invite that stress around. But if the situation is, hey, we did this, we made a mistake, let's try to coexist and create harmony within bringing this child here, I'm sure to be a different result. But you cannot sit there and say, I don't want this baby, you a hoe, you a this, you a thought and that, and expect the woman to want to share in the pregnancy with you. So how we talk, we are all human beings, so actions have consequences. If you create a baby outside of a relationship or stuff, it's not going to have the same dynamics and the same things that happen for a child that's created in a relationship. And if you talk to somebody crazy, then you're creating an environment, because that 9 months that lady needs to be not have extra stress in her life than to hear for 6 months out the year, and the baby to hear, because the baby can hear too, that I ain't want you, I didn't want you, I didn't want you. So it's just every circumstance is different and how people approach that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead. Who's next? Ruby?
Yeah. I will say this, that yes, I do believe that the child belongs to both the mother and the father. It took two to tango, it took two to create the child. It's going to take two to raise this child in the most optimal way possible. And so as a result, yes, the child does absolutely belong to both the mother and the father. I guess a point of contention would be, to me at least, what point within gestation that I believe this goes from being a mass of tissues and basically just a fetus to a baby. And I don't believe that that's at conception.
Thank you.
I believe the child. Oh, I apologize. I believe the child. I believe the child is both the father and the mother's. Period. I mean, it took two people to get it on, to get it in, to create the child. So, yeah, it's both of their child.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Ask your next question. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, then that goes to my second question. Why do y'all believe that women believe that it is their baby between the time of conception and when the baby comes out? Do you believe that it's because of the law or society or just their own personal feelings?
What was the question? That sounded like 2 or 3 questions.
Okay. Why do you believe that? Why do you believe women believe that there is that child from the time of conception to the time of birth?
Thank you. Okay.
All right. I don't think that women, if I say my daughter is going into the house, I'm not discounting that she's just my daughter alone. That's just how we talk about, say, me, if I own a house with you and I say I'm going home to my house, that ain't discounting that it's your house too. And I don't think women say, it's mine. Yes, it's my baby. And it's also your baby. That's not discounting you. That's just how we talk. If I go say, I'm going to drive my car and it belongs to me and my husband, am I discounting that he owns the car too? No, that's just how we talk. And I think you're looking for something that's actually not there, or trying to create some type of image of something that's a falsity.
So correct me if I'm wrong. I think what you're more so speaking on is the women out there who, have come up in the news and everything else and said, that it's her child and that yes, the man helped create it, but because it's in her body, it's her child. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, BMT, you were here a few days ago. We had a woman who said that same thing, that because it's in her body, it's her baby until it's born.
Okay.
I actually had an argument with a woman on BMT's panel about that. So that's why I'm asking that question.
I get you now.
You give energy to that. Why give energy to something so stupid? Whatever, maybe she didn't articulate it well, I don't know. But I wouldn't even give no energy to that something so stupid.
Koja, just let them answer the question. Come on, sit down with me, Koja. Come on.
I'm just asking the question. I'm not giving energy. That was what was told to me, and there was some women that said it. So that's why I'm asking the question here.
Yeah, I gotta say I can't really speak on it for sure because I don't know what's in their heads on that. I disagree completely. So it's kind of hard for me to have any kind of educated opinion on why they are thinking this way. I don't get it, to be quite honest.
I don't think that way. I think that part of that is society, and also it is also that sounds like that woman's personal viewpoint. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about the impact that we're having on children and the norms that it's creating for them. So if you are born and raised basically in a family in a community where all you see are single mothers and all you see are the women, it falls on us. You'll hear it a lot. They'll say it, out loud. Well, it's my responsibility. So he ain't gonna be here. He ain't gonna this. He ain't gonna nothing. It's all on me. It's almost like there's an expectation there to an extent that you got to prepare yourself that it's gonna be all on you. It's gonna be all yours. And so it's almost like until that baby pops out, and the father has a chance to bond and show he's going to invest or not, they don't even want to get married to the idea of this is a shared baby, a shared responsibility, a shared life that we created, because they don't want to get let down. That's what it seems like to me. I mean, based on your question, I wasn't raised that way. I don't feel that way. I don't really know anyone who felt that way about their children, but I could imagine that maybe if my experiences were different, and the environment that I was born and raised in was different, that, it would have changed my perspective on how I see a pregnancy, how I see a baby, and, how I see the man who helped me create that baby.
Okay. Last question. No, I'll jump off. Okay, let's say that financial abortion, the way that J.I. described it, is put into law. Do you think that it would create more men not taking responsibility for the children than right now the laws that we have in place now?
Sorry, can you ask that again?
Okay, because if financial abortion was to be placed into law, do you believe that there will be more instances of men just not wanting to be fathers in children's lives, or do you think it would be equal to what it is now, even with the laws in place now?
Okay, well, I think, and I mean, this is a problem with any law that's created, is that some people it shouldn't apply to, are going to bastardize it in essence. Which is why I don't think if it's implemented, it's got to be implemented with some extra details. Hence why I said like a contract, something that you can legally sign that will legally protect you, stating that prior to engaging with this person, you let it be known this is I'm not having a child with you. If you choose to have a child because some accident happens or whatever, you're responsible for it. Because I think that if you make it too broad, then it's going to cover people who choose on purpose to impregnate someone, right? Because they wanted a baby at the time, sounded like a good idea at the time, but once the relationship fell apart, some other issues happened, then they want to walk away from a life they willingly created and said they wanted to come to fruition. So I do think you have to be careful with it. I think it definitely could cover some ain't shitness people. But I do think it's definitely something that is worth exploring and really looking into how it can be instituted in a proper way. So that way it does give men the same types of protections and freedoms that women currently have.
Me personally, I believe it will be equal across the board. I mean, there's a study out there that says that, Black fathers are like the best, like like the best fathers that, a child can have. So I mean, um and also there's a lot of Black men who are raising, children that are not biologically theirs. So I don't think it's going to be too much of a change. I don't yeah. But that's just my opinion. We'll just have to see if that were to occur.
What was the question again?
Okay, if financial abortion law was implemented, do you think there will be more men not wanting to be fathers after they had a child with a woman, or do you think it's going to be the same as it is now with the laws in place that they have now?
So my understanding of financial abortion would be that the man would have no financial responsibility for the child. If you will have no financial responsibility to the child, what father did you think you should be? Because I feel like I'm definitely responsible for providing for my children financially. If you just want to say, I just want to be the dad, I don't care how you eat, I don't care how you get shoes and clothes and health care. I just want to take you to the ballpark, and you want all of the so-called perks with none of the other stuff that come with it. If you said you didn't want any part of the child, then why would they be there for the other part? If you don't want to help in hand in feeding that child, clothing that child, and making sure that child gets what they need, why would anybody be there for the other parts of it? You don't get to get all of the pluses and without any of the so-called minuses.
Okay, that kind of didn't answer my question, but
trying to figure out how would they be there any other way. They've abdicated and separated from the child, so they would not be there at all. So it wouldn't be a step in because they wouldn't be there, period.
No,
BNP already said they're not going to answer our question straight, so we just got to take whatever they say.
I'm trying to figure out, if you say they got the financial abortion, that means they're not there. So how are they going to say they're gonna not be there now? They not there, period, and they've chosen not to be there. So you're saying that they should be able. The other alternative I see you're saying they should be able to be there physically, just not financially, because they financially aborted. They're not there. So how are they gonna?
That's not what I asked.
Bro, speak. She's not going to answer. We just got to accept it. But my question is, if the government took away welfare today, do you think out of wedlock pregnancy would go up or down? Simple question.
I
So
don't know.
last
I
question,
got 4 kids and I ain't never had a welfare check. So I don't know what welfare and the impression that people are having kids for $300 and some a month has to do with it, because I'm not sure. Maybe some of the other one, I've never received a welfare check. And it's a whole bunch of single mothers I know that have never received a welfare check. So I don't know how much this narrative of women having baby for $327 a month is.
I'll answer that question, Ji. It's an unpopular answer. I'm probably gonna get a little bit of hate back from it, but I think it'd go down because I do know women back in a town we used to live in that had babies after babies after babies with different dads, because then they got to sit at home. They didn't have to work because the government paid for where they lived. They gave them food and everything, and then on top of that, the dad had to pay child support. So yeah, I think that it would definitely go down.
Well, I don't know what type of circles they move in. I actually happen to work a job, and I see jobs every day with women that work. So it was a few, when I was growing up, people on welfare, but there was a whole systematic change in how welfare was distributed. And when people are limited to 5 years in a lifetime and 2 consecutive years of welfare. But I work on a job with women that have children every day, and they come to work every day, all kinds of from no degree to working. I see women, when they talk about suspending the men driver's license, I see women catching buses every morning going to work. So there is this fallacy of the sit at home welfare mother collecting a check and this and that. In my everyday life, I see working women not sitting at home, and most of them are mothers.
I think it would go down. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I would just like to say I think it would go down.
Okay. I think that the problem is it wouldn't go down. And the reason why it wouldn't is because I think that if they were to remove welfare for everybody, but especially for single mothers, I think that the reaction would be to also up child support, because the children are already created. And so that is going to heavily penalize and screw over fathers. I think a better solution would be to, going forward, so as of January 1st, 2022, or whatever, whatever, like 8 months is from now or 9 months is from now, that day, as of that day, no more welfare for new single parents. And if that was the case, no more child support and no more welfare, then you would see the numbers go down for the populations. It's not all single mothers, mind you, but there is a population, we have to be honest, there is a population of women who have been conditioned to think that this is a good way of going about life. Once they have the first one, it would be better for them to have 3 or 4 because of what they'll be able to bring in comparison to what they would have to bring in if they were working plus child support, plus daycare. So I do think that if you remove both, then yes, the numbers would go down, but you would have to remove both.
I'm gonna address J.I. in the chat. I don't know what kind of deadbeat women he working around. I'm from a family with a lot of women, and within my family, all the women work. So I don't know what deadbeat women they living around or what circumstances they messing with where women don't work. Because I asked if everybody were to look into their family and say how many women you don't have working in your family. Because I want to know what, in order to get welfare, you basically have to not work. So if every person in here, we did a panel, and you could come up and say how many women that are not disabled don't work in their families. And the men who in the chat who's saying it, put the number of women in their family that don't work in addition to collect welfare. So we can get a look at how many of these numbers are.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna drop down and because somebody else, I think somebody's in the back chat want to come up. So if I have any more questions, I'll hit the super chat. And thank
All
you.
right. Okay.
All right. Thank
Back to
you.
the basics. What's your thoughts so far? Everything you've been hearing. Um, what's your thoughts so far? And again, guys, your donations. The ladies are answering the questions. They're not cursing. They're not attacking. So y'all better ask all these questions. Go ahead. Back to the basics. With everything you're hearing so far, what's your thoughts?
I think it's a great discussion that we can even have a panel like this. I'm thankful for Mr. Trailer Hood for thinking about this because these are issues and topics that we need to talk about, that we actually need to have a conversation. And I'm here to also learn. I'm glad that Classic Ruby is here. She's educated me more about what was going on, prior to Roe, versus Wade. So I'm actually enjoying this.
Yeah.
There are quite a few people in the chat, and I'm gonna go into the other window to be able to put it. And if we're gonna advance the narrative, that the welfare narrative, we can do a simple poll right here, so we can just begin to put a face to this thing that women are on welfare and stuff and having babies. I would like for all of the people here to put in the chat how many people in their family, women, are collecting a welfare check. So, because I think it's something we like to say, but when we really think about it, it doesn't happen. So all of the men should put a number, or if they're too old now, they used to collect welfare. So we can start really tackling this myth.
PMZ, how many more questions do I have?
You already asked 3, and this is the 4th one right here, brother.
I'm out of questions.
Uh-huh.
All right, hold on. Let me get the super chat. I got niggas something to say though. Hold on, I'm about to hit the super chat so I can come back for more questions.
Okay. What about you? Ruby? How are you feeling so far about this panel, about this dynamic, or especially of this thought process of talking about women's contraceptive rights? Do you think this is something that needs to be done, or no, this is a waste of time? What's your thoughts?
I think that, I mean, unfortunately, whenever we have these discussions, we're always going to get into some of the discussion points that just kind of lead us in a circle and go nowhere. I really feel like when we're having these discussions, there needs to be more focus on, solutions. Because ultimately, I do think that one way or the other, we do have some issues within Western society. Those issues are getting worse. The impact on the children ultimately is also getting worse. We can see that through performance and a bunch of other things. And so, I sometimes wish that, we could maybe focus more on discussing solutions, like real world solutions, maybe things that women have done themselves, or they know that, are actually creating positive, meaningful change insofar as educating, insofar as maybe petitioning for something like, maybe y'all didn't know about it, Sahaley, the non-hormonal birth control that is currently being held off from the population, but would be great. I just feel like we maybe need to focus more on solutions to help change behavior rather than kind of argue about who's right sometimes. But overall, I'm enjoying the discussion. I think these are a great group of ladies, a lot of, balanced heads who actually want to give their viewpoint instead of, shout down someone else or debunk someone else, because that doesn't get us anywhere for sure. So that's awesome.
To have a discussion, it has to come off a basis of truth. So if you construct a question that is not accurate from the beginning, we can't begin to answer the question if it's predicated on a falsity. So constructing questions that way does not propel a discussion forward, because you actually can't answer it truthfully. So when we have the discussion, when the guy say, I'm not answering the question,
I couldn't answer a question that was not an accurate or truthful question. So we have to let our questions be in truth and move forward, not begin from a premise of I'm skewing the question in a way.
Read my super chat, BNG.
Yep. Go ahead, Dad. Go ahead and read it.
My
Dad?
super chat?
Yeah, go ahead. And then we can go ahead and ask.
All right. My question, next question. Here we go. All right. Who benefits more from marriage, men or women, in your opinion, and why?
You know that's two questions, but go ahead. Who benefits from
Women.
marriage?
Women, particularly if there's no prenuptial agreement. We already know who's going to benefit from that. I mean, unfortunately, I believe both parties should benefit from marriage, but we know that women ultimately benefit from marriage.
Personal experience, because that's all I can base off of. I think that both people benefit. Well, I mean, from what I know and what I see in other relationships, I'm not sure what back to the basics means as far as the prenup, because I know plenty of women in the marriage who are making more money than the men. But I believe that there is an equality in the marriage, or should be anyways. If there's not, then there's a problem. So, my husband benefits in a lot of ways by being married to me, just as much as I benefit in a lot of ways by being married to him.
Can't believe I'm going to say this, but I agree with Mrs. Trailerhood. First time today. But yeah, I mean, and when they do these the research, I know y'all don't like research, but they do the research, they prove that men, women, and children are all 40% more successful in a functional marriage. So with that being said, if only one partner, either the man or the woman, is benefiting, and the other partner is not in any way that is visible, that's not really a good partnership. Now, with that being said, the statistics prove that children benefit. Men will continue to get a 40% increase in success in various areas from life from being married, whether they're miserable or not, and women don't. Women have to actually be happy and satisfied in their marriages to receive that 40% increase in success, which is why women are a lot more likely to walk away from marriages and to file for divorces first. But overall, when we're talking about happy, functional relationships, both people should benefit. And well, it's not going to be equal benefit as far as, well, they both are, benefiting each other, maybe financially or this or that or whatever. When you look at the balance of things, it should be that both people are greatly benefiting from the marriage.
All right, for the people on the panel, are you for the government being removed from the family dynamic, i.e., no more child support, no more family court?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
yes.
back.
Oh, no. It's okay, because it's the same answer. Yes.
Yes. I think that we have let the government in general into our family units way too much. And I know I've had this discussion with other people, and a lot of the arguments is that there are people out there that are just too immature. Well, we've made it too easy on them to be immature because the government will just handle everything and they'll decide for us and blah, blah, blah. When, no, I think the government needs to get out.
I mean, I basically live in a culture where, for the most part, it's very much like that anyway. So whatever the actual rules are of the country or the community or whatever, the rules in your household by your parents are right. Just like I know broken homes. couple, because it's not really the way that we Western kind of like, have this outside culture of being Jamaican, and that more so dictates the way that the household and the family and how problems are run. So, and from what I can see, that's a much more functional and happy way overall to run your life, and obviously a much more accountable way of running your life and your household as well. So, absolutely, I agree that I don't think the government should be stepping into many of these private issues, whether it's family or medical health in that way.
All right, my last question before I fall off of here. It's hard doing this. I'm really geared towards going back and forth. But my final question. In one debate I had on Teapot's channel, interesting moral dilemma came up. So, in your opinion on the chat, I believe, I'm fuck them kids. You don't want them. You should be able to walk away. All that. That's me. But I have no children. So, do you believe that my stance on financial abortion and all this stuff, who's better? Who's worse? Me, who has this stance that's pretty abrasive, fuck those kids, whatever, or a woman who's actually had an abortion? And do you believe women who have abortions are murderers? That's my final question.
Wow, you're leaving here with the toughest question of all. I don't think either one is worse. I don't think it's awful that the guy doesn't want the responsibility and says I don't want it. And I don't think it's necessarily awful that the woman says the same thing. I just think that there needs to be better equality in the decision making of said choices. If the man can back out, then the woman should. If the woman can back out, then the man should be able to as well. I can't really, I used to be a hardcore anti-abortion, that everyone was a murderer and a horrible person. And then I took the time to educate myself and grow a little bit. And I do understand that there are incidences where it is necessary. I think that some of the incidences that people bring up are a little light, but there are heavy incidences. So I can't really say that the man or the woman would be worse in either situation.
Don't forget the murderer part. Are women who have abortions murderers?
Oh, sorry. Like I said, I used to think that they were murderers. Now, not so much. I think it falls on the factor of why they're getting the abortion. If it's just, I just don't really want a kid, well, then, yeah, I would probably lean towards the murder side of it. If it were for a legitimate reason, they were, attacked and it resulted in a pregnancy or something along those lines, then no, I wouldn't call them a murderer.
Okay, well, obviously I'm pro-choice, so no, I don't believe that women who have abortions are murderers. I don't believe that early stage abortion, which is where 90% of the abortions occur to begin with, could be defined as murder. I do think that late stage abortions that are not connected to serious medical health issues for the woman or for the child, that is a place that I have an issue, because in late stage, as in third trimester, at that point, I think as of 21, I know for sure my godson lived as of 24 weeks, he was born. But I know for sure that as of somewhere between 21 to 24 weeks, say 28 weeks to be safe, that a baby can live outside of the womb on its own. And if that is the case, then once a baby can live outside of the womb on its own, if you were to abort it, that to me would be murder. But again, well over 90% of abortions don't happen during that time. Now, when it comes to the first question, again, I have an issue with people who get buyer's remorse once they've already invested, and that's for both men and women. It might sound terrible, but yes, I do. I have an automatic reaction, ladies, to women who choose to have babies and then just abandon them or otherwise neglect them because you made a decision, you made a choice. So I say the same thing about the man. If he chose to get this woman pregnant and then had buyer's remorse after the fact, because, a few months down the line, you're 4, 5, 6, 7 months, baby's just born. You're like, actually, you know what? I don't like this woman. I don't want kids with her. I want to walk away. Yeah, no, then you're a piece of trash, just like she would be a piece of trash. But as far as this early stage, the same kind of, we'll say 28 weeks or whatever, that a woman has a chance to say, now is not actually, well, 21 weeks really for me, that, you know what, no, I don't want a baby. I think a man should have that exact same period of time to say, you know what, actually, no, I don't want a baby. So now this is on you. And should be able to legally sign away his rights and financial obligations at that point. And he's not horrible for that, just like she would not be horrible for making the same choice.
I'm pro-life, so you already know. I'm gonna have the exact opposite opinion. Yeah, I can't co-sign on abortion. It's just once that to me, life begins at the moment of conception. So whether if we're talking about a fetus or a embryo or whatever it's called, it's murder, all murder to me. Even though at about 6 months the fetus can live outside of the womb, the 7th month of development is very critical, particularly for the child's lungs. So no, I don't. That's my answer for that. Hashtag bring back common law marriage. get government out of family affairs.
Okay, I think we all answered. BMT? BMT! Hey!
Oh, Lord, did he fall asleep?
Let me sneak in another question and BMT's gone.
Uh-oh.
Anyone gotta blow one of those horns?
Just steal this question since if he's in his phone.
It's my turn.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Should women serve men?
You're gonna have to clarify what you mean by that.
Should women serve men? Is yes or no question?
You're breaking up a bit.
The simple 4-letter question. Is it a woman's purpose to serve a man?
Yeah, that's an easy answer.
Thank you for that answer. The other ladies?
You do serve me.
I don't think that's all that she's supposed to do for her man is just serve him. I think she's supposed to support. She's supposed to nurture. She's supposed to fulfill. She's supposed to inspire. So I think there's a lot more than
Only back to the
just
basic
serve.
answer.
But that's part of it, yes.
You said what?
In essence, a woman should submit to her man, and there's many aspects of submission, which includes serving, but it's not limited to. Serving is not enough. That's not all that her role is. She has a lot more that she should be doing to fulfill her role as his wife and as his life partner.
To a degree, yeah. Women should serve men. She should serve her man, not men in general. But yes, but there again, it goes towards the he does for her, she does for him. But yes, absolutely, I serve my husband.
Should submission be natural because they're the man, or should a man have to earn submission?
Get that. No, wait, J.I. You ain't going to just get to keep asking a bunch of questions. It's my turn now.
Who's that?
This is Trailer Hood.
Oh, y'all are married. Oh, okay.
No kidding. That's why her name's
Trailer.
Mrs. Trailer Hood. Okay, now my question, since BMT's asleep and snoring, how many of you women feel that it's okay for a woman to take her, God damn it, this thing's, how many of you women think it's okay for a woman to take her child support and go out and spend it on what she wants? The bar, the nails, the hair, the shoes.
100% against that. I know what I've seen.
Yep, me too. There's no way that at the end of the day, I don't even really think that mothers should be spending their own money on stuff when like that, unless they're making an abundance of it, because children cost money, their futures cost money, and you should be investing all of that money into taking care of that child, making sure they have things that they need. If there's extra, it should be going towards them as far as lessons or tutoring or something else that they need. That's what child support is for.
Obviously, he knows my answer, but because we talked about it before. But yeah, I'm against them being able to use it for whatever they feel. In fact, I think that the child support should be put onto a card that, if we're going to continue to have child support, should be put onto a card that's regulated, just like food stamps and things like that are. You know, you can't use it at the salon. You can't use it for, you know, things like that. But you can use it to, you know, pay the rent. Or you can use it to buy kids' clothes and food and, you know, things like that. That's just my opinion.
Next question. All right, next question. Do you believe that if a man and a woman have kids and separate, that in today's day and age, unless one parent or the other has given a reason for it not to be that way, that parents should automatically have split 50-50 parenting? That way the kids are actually raised by both parents equal amount of time.
Oh yeah, I'll jump right in here on this one. And I speak about this a lot. My parents were teen parents. My mom was up for valedictorian in high school, and oops, she got pregnant. And so they did the whole shotgun marriage thing, and the marriage did not work out. They were separated before I could remember them being together. Despite that, they tried 1 year on, 1 year off, where I was with one of them for like when I was 2, the other one when I was 3, and they said, I don't think this is going to be healthy for the kid. And so what they did, they literally moved within 5 minutes walking distance of each other, and they literally shared me 50-50. So I was at one parent's house Monday, Wednesday, and every other Friday weekend, and the others Tuesday, Thursday, and every other Friday weekend. Same bus stop even, because they made sure that they lived within 5 minutes walking distance and literally split 50-50. And to me, that sacrifice, if young kids basically can make that sacrifice for their children, then I think everyone should be willing to do so for the benefit of their kids.
I agree with that statement, because at the end of the day, it's really about the children. I think we as far as some men and women, we need to get out of our feelings and start focusing on what's important, and that's the child. Because at the end of the day, you know, I don't believe that a child should be held against either parent. I think a father should be able to see his children. I think a mother should be able to see her children. And because at the end of the day, if a child is used like that as leverage, then the child ends up getting hurt, and it's just a whole bunch. It's just a whole bunch of messery. You know, we don't. It's just bad for the child.
Yeah, more than money, children need time investment. They need time with their parents. They need to get that unconditional positive regard and love from their parents. And making everything about some war about money is like the worst thing that you could do for a child. Children don't need a check from daddy. You know, children need time with daddy. They need quality time. They need those lessons and that discipline and everything. Daddy needs to be not some ain't shit dude, but the dude that you're gonna call and let daddy know this and this and this. And sometimes he comes over for family holidays or birthdays or stuff, because you both created this child, you both chose to. The relationship didn't work out, cool. But you still have this kid, and that kid needs both parents for different reasons equally.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Ruby, with that being said, do you as well as the other women on the panel believe that do you feel that money, how much money a dad gives is more important to the child, or how much time he's invested in his children is more important in the child for the child?
I actually think that, I mean, short of everyone being in poverty, so like, parents, you need to get on the ball so your kids can eat and stuff. I don't think money is the important factor. I mean, to give you a little bit of background explanation, so I'm Jamaican, I'm first generation Jamaican. And like, if you go back to Jamaica, you will see a lot of single parents. And the dad comes around when he comes around. And when he comes around, he may or may not have money, but it doesn't matter. That's your father. And the kids know that, and they show daddy the ultimate respect. Or if the dad is the one who has custody, the opposite way.
So Taylor is from the
BMT.
He is gone.
He's just gone.
BMT. Hey.
I hear you, but I'm ignoring you.
Yeah, we heard you snoring too.
You're snoring and everything.
We heard you.
I know, I'm hearing y'all. Let me ignore y'all. Let y'all do y'all.
Okay, let me ask one last question then. Do you how do I want to look at this? Okay, and all mine pretty much revolve around parents and children, if you haven't noticed, because that's an important thing to me. Do you feel that when going back to when parents separate, if a father is in a position to where he can raise the kids and not need money from the mother, but the mother needs child support from the dad, that the mother should get the kids or the dad should get the kids?
See, whenever people have this conversation about money, again, I already said that to me, money isn't and shouldn't be the most important factor.
Well, let me reword it then. If whoever's in a better position to actually care for the kids without asking for help from the other, who's ever able to.
What I was going to say, and this is important, right? Because if the father's in a great financial position, but also works a lot of hours, he's not going to be able to pick the kids up from school, might need babysitters a lot more often and whatever, then, and the mother's going to be available to do those things, to pick them up from school, to be there to do their homework with them and whatever it is, actually investing in that way. Then I do think that when they're kids, when they're young and they need that, then they should be with the mother. But with that being said, again, I don't think that it should be this case of, well, they're with the mother and then once a week, the father gets them on the weekends or something. Like it should never be that divided to begin with. I think if primary custody needs to be at one home, it's the home that the parent is able to be there, pick them up 5 days a week and whatever. But the father should also have free access to his children. So it should be arranged that some nights after he gets home from work, the kids go over there, the weekends, whatever. It should be a free exchange.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Me personally, if I ever found myself in a bad situation where, okay, I'm struggling, and if the father, hey, instead of doing 50-50, I might be like, hey, I think what's best for the child is I just give the child over to you. You have full custody. And then, I'll pay child support and do what I got to do. So I think, again, the focus should be on what is best for the child. I mean, that's what it should, that should be the goal, because at the end of the day, I'm an adult, you know what I mean? Now that child is not an adult. So that child needs love, attention, approval, security, to feel safe, so many other things. So, that's where I stand on that.
Right. And just to add a little bit to that, because I agree with that, right? That's why I said when they're little, because nurturing is really important at that stage. When they start getting older towards the teen years, especially if they're boys, right, they need their fathers. And so, I'm hoping that the father would be able to work his schedule around so he could be more available evenings and weekends, because especially little boys need their fathers at that time because they need that model of manhood. But so do daughters. Daughters need to learn non-sexual love and interaction with a man to understand, what she should be looking for out there. So I think when they're young, the mother is a really important factor as far as the nurturing. And as they get older, the father is a very important factor as far as the disciplining. Not that at any point, it's not important to have both, but that's the way I see that.
Absolutely. I agree. It really comes down to, I'd like to backtrack a little bit. It kind of comes down to the whole government being involved in the family unit, because if, my husband and I have talked about this before, if, we've got a wonderful relationship, let me just start with that. But if by some reason we weren't able to continue to work it out, then we would work it out separately so that the children benefit and grow to be productive members of society, because we continue to work together for the benefit of them. Even if we hate each other, it ain't about us anymore. It's about these kids.
Right. It's about the kids. I mean, I've said that a lot in this conversation, but it's like, it's a point that gets missed out so much on these gender wars between men and women. We spend so much time fighting about that we forget about the children. Like, what's best for the kid right now in this moment, and they're at the age they're at, the development they're at, maybe the disciplinary issues that they're having, all kinds of things like that. And so, that's got to be considered above your personal feelings and your personal gripes. And like, I don't care if he cheated on you, had a baby on you, he was this, he was short of him being abusive towards the children, right? Like, the only concern you should have when it comes to parenting, and where the kid should be and blah, 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 is what's in the best interest of the kid. And that gets lost so often.
Trailer said to tell everybody he appreciates the responses and to his questions and things like that. I do have a question. So I typically get most of my information from my husband because I work so much that when I am home, I'm focused on our family, not on what's going on in the news and things like that. So I haven't actually heard, but I do remember BMT saying towards the beginning of our conversation that Biden had plans for contraceptive rights and things like that. So can somebody clue me in on exactly what it is his plans are so that I can educate and know what my response would be to that?
I'm not American, so I don't know. So maybe back to the basics knows, but I don't. I mean, I know some politics. Sometimes politics is not really my area. And I'm not 100% sure on what Biden is doing or his policies.
Yeah, I'm Googling right now, so now I'm behind the curve. I'm on it.
I don't feel so bad.
Here.
I don't feel so bad.
Right?
No. Here we go. Let me see here. Oh, let me see. We got an article here. The Hill.
There hasn't been a lot of focus on Biden regarding his policies as much. I think, there's just been more of a focus on, the election and the results and all that stuff. And there's been less focus on Biden and his policies as far as Biden and his age and other factors like that and what he did before and blah, blah, blah. And so, I'm sure some people know policy, but I don't think that it's being blasted across media that way.
I agree with you there. There's definitely been some shade on as to what it is he plans on doing, when he's inaugurated.
He plans on
yes.
Captain and handing it over to Kamala.
What'd you find out? Back to the basics.
Okay, so I met this article. I figured I'd have to do this. It's all good though, because I need to be reading and researching anyways. There's an article. I need to put it in the chat now so that people can actually see it, so they don't think I'm bullshitting. So let me see. Let me put this article up in here. I'm gonna read just a paragraph of it. Let me see something. This is the article coming from The Hill. Looks like a magazine or a political magazine, dated, let me see, November 28th. So let me see, I'm going to scroll down here. It says, for example, the Biden-Harris administration must reverse the Trump-Pence domestic gag rule. Before Trump disrupted the program, Title X supported clinics delivered family planning services to 4 million low-income households a year. Then the Trump administration issued regulations barring Title X grantees from counseling patients about their abortion options or referring them to an abortion provider. They could either withhold abortion information from patients or lose their federal funding. That forced Planned Parenthood and other family planning providers to leave the program. As a result, the number of people served by Title X clinics dropped by 800,000 last year. Let me see. And then it goes into, let me see, Trump era rules. Hold on here. But that's like one of the main things. So we got people, looks like, withholding information. Hold on here.
So it's more about abortion than it is about contraception.
I'm still looking now. We're trying to be fair. We're trying to be fair now.
Sure.
Hold on here. Here we go. Trump era rules permit healthcare providers to discriminate against, here we go, LGBTQ patients, and regulatory changes to the Affordable Care Act allow employers to deny employees coverage for contraceptive services simply by citing a moral or religious objection. Huh, isn't that interesting?
Oh.
Isn't that interesting? Okay, the Biden-Harris administration must roll back these sweeping, oppressive exemptions to protect sexual and reproductive health and rights. It must also repeal Trump-era changes to the public charge rule that denies health care benefits to immigrants, a blatant attack on immigrants' rights. It creates fear and confusion, deterring many from seeking the reproductive health services they need and are legally entitled to receive. So those are the two big paragraphs of this article that are like really talking about abortion, of course, was talked about, but also contraceptive. So we see, yeah, that's a lot. Dang, just those two paragraphs.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some research on that. I'm on vacation this week, so this is my time to catch up on all the craziness going on.
Oh, it's okay. I put the link in the chat. It should be in the chat for everybody to see.
I see that. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go. You can read. Yeah. So again, there's some messery going on. Look like some messery. Me personally, I'm a registered independent. I'm tired of both parties. I'm tired of the Democrats. I'm tired of the Republicans. I'm just tired. I'm sick of y'all.
They're all puppets. They all play for the same coin.
Exactly.
Two sides
I'm tired of
the
all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Miss Classic,
I don't know.
you have anything to add? My bad.
Yeah, no, I don't follow or support any particular party in America or here. I mean, realistically, I just kind of think, same shit, different pile, in a lot of ways. So I don't really follow parties. I more just kind of, look at particular points and, develop opinions based on those and research on them. So I can't say, honestly, I know anything about Biden, anything about his policies, anything about what he is going to institute or not. Followed a lot of the drama with the storming of the Capitol. But I mean, other than that, I have no idea what's going on in America. Honestly, I'm going to say outside of America, probably most people don't know what's going on in America except for that right now. Like that's what we've been following, and that's what our news has been talking about. So I guess we shall see. It's going to happen. So I guess we'll see what he does.
Well, that's all the news wants to talk about is that side of the chaotic thing instead of, letting the masses, know exactly where Biden or Trump or anybody else, Kanye for that matter, stands on their policies and stuff. I don't feel like, everybody had to educate themselves this time around instead of looking at towards the news.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Very true. Well, I don't know. I guess there's no more questions in the chat, and we've kind of gone over the discussion. I mean, thank you, ladies, because I mean, clearly we were on different sides on a lot of topics. Yet, there was no insulting, no screaming, no putting each other down, no debunking. I just spoke my opinion. You spoke yours.
Absolutely.
It was great.
She ate
Like,
too.
I never get that with women.
Yeah,
It's
I
great.
loved it. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I love to just learn from other people. So I mean, I understand that my views were different from others, but I mean, it just you can learn a lot if a person can learn a lot if that individual exercises active listening. Just listen to what a person says. A person might learn something.
Absolutely. Yeah, I went into this, feeling it could go either way. This is my first time on a YouTube live, so my debut, I guess. So I feel it could have really gone either way, and I've kind of been battling a cold too. So at one point I thought, I don't want to do this, but I'm so glad I did because it has been an awesome conversation with agreeing and disagreeing on different topics, and this was a perfect platform for it because there's been so many times that I've tried to conversate with men and women about these different issues and things, and all you get is people yelling over each other and in each other's faces. And this was so much more mature and productive conversation.
Absolutely. And I'll say, hey, if this is your first time in a panel, kudos. You did very well. I had no idea. Like, you were very confident, outspoken, spoke your piece. You obeyed, panel etiquette instead of being a jerk and speaking over people or interrupting them. So you did amazing. So yeah, kudos to you. This was great.
Thank you.
Well, you are very welcome. All right, ladies, I have we kind of do a weird and wild, interesting out there news channel. Me and my co-host Char Willie. So I gotta go and do that because that literally starts in 12 minutes, and I did zero research because I've been here.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, it's my turn to take care of the kids. So
there you go. All right then, ladies. Well, it was a great discussion. BMT, wake up! We're leaving now.
Bye,
BMT.
All right, it was a pleasure.
Yes, ladies, it was a pleasure. Okay, you guys have a great evening. Hopefully, we get to discuss something else. It'll be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would definitely be up for coming back.
Yes, you do the same. Have a great evening.
Yes, yes. All right, later.
Take care.
Are you still there, BMT? Hello? Okay.